The NBA championship began with 2 games in the Boston Garden. The Celtics and Dave Cowens handled the Phoenix Suns with such ease that many experts thought the series would end in 4 games. The scene then shifted down to Phoenix, and in Game 3, it got extremely rough in the second quarter. Ricky Sobers, number 40 of the Phoenix Suns, and Kevin Stakem, number 27 of the Boston Celtics, got into a vicious fistfight. Both players were ejected from the contest. After that, it was the Rookie of the Year, Alvan Adams, who took complete command as the amazing Suns scratched and clawed their way back into the playoff. Then it was Game 4 on Wednesday night. Gar Heard, with an amazing second effort, put the Suns up by 2. He missed, went back up for the tap, and got it in. Then the Suns had an opportunity to salt it away. Keith Erickson with a miss. Celtics pull it down with 12 seconds to play. They don't want the timeout. They want to set up as quickly as possible. The play is already called. But the Suns have taken away the pass to Dave Cowens. The secondary man is JoJo White. Sobers with a good defensive play. And suddenly, the series is tied. And I think you can hear in the background the noise emanating from the Boston Garden, where the scene has shifted for Game 5 of this NBA championship. Hondo John Havlicek has just been introduced. He will start for the first time in the championship series. He will be at 1 forward along with Silas, Cowens, and of course the 2 guards. And good evening, everybody. I'm Brent Musburger along with Rick Barry. So nice that you can come along and watch this game, and judging from the ratings, an awful lot of you are starting to enjoy this championship series, and we couldn't be happier here at CBS. Rick, what do we expect tonight?
Well, I think tonight you're going to probably see the Phoenix sticking with what they did so well down in Phoenix, winning those 2 ball games. Then you saw John Havlicek come out for the Boston Celtics, which shows that Tom Heinsohn is prepared to make some changes. He wants to try to get the ball down deep inside of Dave Cowens and generate more offense for the Boston Celtic big man.
All right, Rick, I'm sure our audience can hear boos in the background. The officials have been very controversial in this series. For more on that, let's go to our colleague, Mindy Rudolph.
After suffering losses on each other's courts, both teams complained bitterly about the officials. In fact, they suggested perhaps that they receive special instructions on how to call the game. Such is not the case, we've been assured by John Nucatola. In fact, I think they've done a heck of a job and will continue to do so. Now, probably Dave Cowens said it better than anybody, and I quote, he said, "Never before in a series has officiating been so emphasized. In fact, they are not the ones who put the ball in the basket, nor are they the ones who commit the turnovers, nor are they the ones who miss last-second shots. The best way," he says, "to win a ball game is to adjust according to the game and to score more points than the opponents." Now let's go to Sunny Hill for more on tonight's ball game.
What is the mood of the ball players? If you're with the Boston Celtics, JoJo White, I'm concerned we have to win the ball games at home. Paul Silas, I have respect for this ball club. Maybe starting out I didn't think that way, but I think that way now. Phoenix Suns, I'm ready. That's what Curtis Curry says, and I believe my team is ready. Confidence, Paul Westphal saying, I'm not overconfident, but I'm confident. But maybe Gar Heard says it's best. When he told me, he said, "Sonny, I told you early in the series that we could do it, and I still feel we can do it." Let's go to Brent Musburger and Rick Barry.
We are ready for the start of Game 5 from the Boston Garden on this Friday night. The referees, number 26 is Richie Powers, and working with him will be Don Murphy. Both of these 2 officials have worked 1 game each in the championship series. Murphy was one of the officials Wednesday night. As for Richie, he worked earlier Game 2. Alvan Adams, who has played spectacularly well so far against Dave Cowens, they will go to tip it off. If you're looking for something early, watch the Celtics try to feed Dave Cowens. JoJo White misses, and Dave Cowens, with great effort, hustling there from the center jump, put it down on the second chance, and here come the Phoenix Suns. Scott against Sobers. Scott trying hard not to foul out for the first time in this series. He has fouled out of all 4 games, and he has just picked up number 1 in Game 5.
Well, Charlie Scott this time did not get as upset on some of the previous calls that he had. He picked up the foul as it was a double team by Cowens and Scott on the jump shot by Sobers.
The rookie, Las Vegas, Nevada, at the free throw line. Grew up in New York. Attended DeWitt Clinton High School, but did not play any basketball there. Two to one, just underway. Sobers awaits JoJo White. Now Dave Cowens plans to come out much higher and keep Paul Silas at the point. They've been double teaming Cowens. Garfield Heard has been blocking up that area. There's Silas out away from the basket. They're giving him that shot. And if he continues to hit it, there will have to be a defensive change on the part of the Suns. They have been begging Paul Silas to put it up in this series. Curtis Perry handling the ball back to Ricky Sobers. Havlicek starting for the first game. Curtis Perry on the turnaround right baseline. It is 4-3. You can tell that the Suns' confidence has been growing with each game. Their shooting percentage from 38 to 39 to 44 to 47 over the four-game span. Silas with his second option when Garfield Heard backs off. He can drive to the hoop, as he did right there. It's 6-3 Celtics.
That'll cause a lot of problems for the Phoenix Sun defense if Paul Silas becomes more offensive-minded.
Cowens got a hand on the ball, and here come the Celtics. White in control. Celtics running more with Havlicek on the floor. JoJo White drew the first foul from the Phoenix Suns.
JoJo White makes a good move here to get inside. You'll see the play back here coming now on defense. Cowens, good defense, comes over, knocks the ball loose. JoJo picking up the ball, takes it down the floor, and makes a good penetration move. Normally, JoJo likes to pull up and take that 15-foot opportunity jump shot, but it looks as though the Celtics are going to try to get inside the Phoenix Sun defense early in this ball game.
Perhaps the most consistent shooting guard in the series has been JoJo White. Paul Westphal came on, played spectacularly in Game 4 in Phoenix. It's 7-3, Celtics lead. One team foul apiece against Phoenix and Boston. The NBA championship tied 2 games apiece. Curtis Perry turns around on Silas. Shot was high. Garfield Heard could not save it. Out of bounds, and here come the Celtics. And Rick Barry, you can tell right away that the Celtics are moving much quicker with number 17, John Havlicek, in their starting lineup.
No question about it, Brent. John Havlicek gives them added movement out on the floor. He's a good, smart ball player who knows what to do in the right situation.
And there's Hondo shooting. He had a poor shooting 2 games down in Phoenix, and after that shot, John McLeod has gone to a timeout. And listen to the crowd in the Boston Garden. They watched that crowd from Phoenix on back-to-back games. For the first time that I've been in the Garden this year, the fans are alive. There's passion in the air. We're in for an evening.
Tonight's NBA championship game is sponsored by Datsun, America's #1 selling import for cars and trucks. Datsun saves. BASF audio tapes polished for clear, true sound. And by the Shell Oil Company.
Back in the Boston Garden, just underway. Game 5 of the NBA championship. 10 minutes and 3 seconds to go in the first quarter. 9-3. Boston leads Phoenix. John Havlicek starting for the first time, and pressure. Curtis Perry helps out. Havlicek will take him. Here's the rookie, Sobers, against the former Sun, Charlie Scott. JoJo White out of Kansas up against Paul Westphal, ex-Celtic. Perry gives it back, and here's Westphal. Good defense. Shot clock down. They're going to have to hurry. Inside of 5. Great defense by the Celtics. Scott comes out on the move ahead of Garfield. Gives it to Dave Cowens. He should have shot it himself that time. He was so intent on team basketball that he gave it up when he should have taken it to the hoop. Curtis Perry now puts it down on the floor, and we've got a travel call. They have turned it over.
The defense by the Celtics, extremely intense. They're working very hard. They forced the Suns out of their offense. They started about 25 feet from the basket, much too far for the Suns to be effective with that pattern offense.
Suns have turned it over 4 early times. White with a beautiful play, took it from Scott. It has been a different Boston Celtic team here early in Game 5. They have strapped on those shoes real tight. Westphal with a miss. Cowens out. Over JoJo's head. He got it. Brings it down on top of Sobers. Bounce pass to Hondo.
This is Boston Celtic basketball at its best. Forcing turnovers, putting the pressure on defensively, doing what they did so well in the third quarter in the 2 games played in Boston to start the series off. And John McLeod right away calling a timeout, trying to get his troops back together. Watch the play here on the back door. The back door from 25 feet out. JoJo with the layup.
Tomorrow afternoon on CBS, the Belmont Stakes. Can Bull Forbes win 2 legs of the Triple Crown? Don't forget Jimmy the Greek's tip. Mackenzie Bridge, Mindy Rudolph. Get all over that horse.
I've got it. It's not Majestic Tunnel, right?
No,
Mackenzie Bridge.
10-1 I saw. Sobers brings it up on Scott. 13-3. Celtics on an early tear. Garfield Heard stepped on the out-of-bounds line. Don Murphy with a lot of help from the crowd here in the Boston Garden.
Once again, a great pressure by the Celtic defense, something that has not been present in the last 2 basketball games.
And watch Silas staying out of way, trying to position Cowens, who was open momentarily. Silas again, 2 for 2 outside. That will drastically alter John McLeod's thinking. 15-3. Van Arsdale wearing number 5, who has just checked in, handling the ball for the first time. Gar Heard and Charlie Scott came out, and Heard was fouled as he came across, and Heard is saying, do I get to shoot 2 that time? We've got a couple of fouls on Charlie Scott early in this game, but he was not in the act of shooting. They will take it out on the side, not yet in the penalty.
Richard Powers' opinion, Brent, it was a pass-off. Therefore, it's a out-of-bounds play. Phoenix inbound.
Perry with a miss, and here come the Celtics again. Reminiscent of the 3rd quarter in Game 2. Hondo gives it up, and finally it wheels back to Scott. Outside, Charlie Scott with a miss. He was 8 of 30 in the 2 games down in Phoenix.
That is not a good shot to take. The Boston Celtics don't like that type of shot. You can get that shot anytime.
Adams outside. Good touch out there. Nice to see Alvan Adams and Dave Cowens on the cover of Sports Illustrated this morning. Hondo puts it down. Make it 17-5. 7:35 to go in the first quarter. Game 5, Boston Garden.
Celtics are shooting 8 for 11, a fantastic percentage.
Sobers gives it up on the turnover. Silas has got you-know-who, Hondo.
That was a super play by John Havlicek right that time. He had defensive man coming down. And let's just watch how John draws him into this foul. There's the steal coming up. Silas with good anticipation on the pass. Long pass to Havlicek. Now watch him cut off the angle on Alvan Adams and force Alvan Adams to run into him and pick him up to get the foul.
8 points for John Havlicek and a chance to boost the total with the 3-point play. The 36-year-old veteran has lit up the Celtics in the Boston Garden, and Curtis Perry and Dave Cowens are at it. Richie Powers, now hold on, Richie's got a quick trigger. Cowens and Perry are at it. Cowens and Garfield Heard earlier. Now John McLeod comes out. Wants to check and see. Tommy Heinsohn also off the Celtic bench. Both players are going to stay in a game. A lot of shoving. No punches were thrown. 7:15 to go first quarter. Sobers inside to Gar Heard, and look at Cowens hustle on the D.
He is like a man possessed out there, Brent.
Wow, intercepted by Heard. Great defensive play by Garfield Heard, who I think was the player of the game in the 4th outing. Here he comes. He's got it. Waits for Silas. Comes up. High arch and puts it down. He has become some forward in the NBA. From Seattle to Chicago to Buffalo to Phoenix to the NBA championship. Havlicek rolling, and it was Garfield Heard who blocked it. Out the other side, Hondo, and Curtis Perry yanks it down. With so much noise, we did not hear the whistle, which was blown.
Foul is going to be on Garfield Heard on the rebound, and you see Keith Erickson coming into the ball game now. John McLeod trying to generate some offense. Keith Erickson has not been able to do that in the first 4 ball games.
Tommy Heinsohn whispering instructions into Charlie Scott's ears. He stood there to throw it inbound. That Arsdale down. Cowens. 22-7. The Suns still can't climb back into it. 6:23. Now the Suns have to rely on patience. Dig back in. Bring it back slowly. Adams. 22-9 is the Rookie of the Year with his 2nd basket from outside, using the glass this time. Scott with the penetrating move.
Those are the type of plays that certainly can break down a defense. The Celtics have been able to get inside. The Suns have not been able to.
Again, it is the rookie off the iron. Silas. Scott. Silas. Heard. What a display of fast break basketball now going on in the Boston Garden. Magnificent performance. And Arsdale and Scott collided. Number 3 on Charlie Scott, who went down and slammed into that basket support. And let me tell you, again, Charlie Scott is not complaining. He so badly wanted to stay in this 5th game of the series. I think 2 of the fouls have been good ones, particularly this one. How could he avoid it, Rick?
Well, he's coming down. Dick Van Arsdale sees he's got a little lane. He tries to go. He runs the cut off. He makes the mistake there you saw with his left hand trying to block the shot. If he had not blocked the shot, I think he would have caused a great deal of problems for Dick Van Arsdale trying to make that shot. The reach-in cost him.
And Arsdale, who broke that left wrist earlier in the year, still wearing the tape as Glenn McDonald, the second-year pro, checks in, and Charlie Scott goes out. That means Havlicek comes to guard.
I think the best thing would have happened on that play, Brent, is let Van Arsdale go for the field goal and give it to him to get about possible 3rd foul.
Touching the ball for the first time, McDonald gave it up and got it back from White. Garfield Heard obviously not losing his cool, working hard on both boards. Erickson outside over Cowens, just kind of threw one up. Would have been better served to try and work it in. Here comes JoJo White. Silas goes for 3 of 3 outside. And Cowens came up against Alvan Adams, and the loose ball foul is called. Number 1 against Cowens.
Dave, that time getting called for his over-aggressiveness on the offensive board. Defensive end had good position inside, and Dave just tried to take it away from him over the back.
What a different feeling in the Boston Garden. In the first 2 games, the fans here thought it was going to be a rout. They expected it to go 4-0. The Suns gave them a rude awakening down in Phoenix. Sobers inside. And Alvan Adams tapped it back to Gar Heard. Ball would not go, but another spectacular effort from the rookie out of Oklahoma. Hondo. Magnificent first quarter for John Havlicek.
And John Havlicek was out practicing today for the first time since he hurt his foot. And he said he wanted to get his touch back. He felt that he didn't have touch shooting. And he's got it this evening.
To follow up on that, John Havlicek was out practicing all alone. No one else from the Celtics, just Hondo. And Arsdale misses, and Cowens, who has been a reign of terror here so far, again has got the rebound. Here's the youngster McDonald giving it back to Cowens. John McLeod is going to call another timeout, but I honestly don't know of a thing he can do right now. It has been an unbelievable effort on the part of the Boston Celtics.
Brent, that's something very unusual. You'll see a team call 3 timeouts in the first quarter. I don't think you'll see that maybe 10% of the time during league play.
Well, Mendy, I think that of all the coaches that I've seen, John McLeod is second to none as far as knowing when to use his timeouts properly. He just feels that the Celtics have so much momentum going. He's trying everything within his power to try to stop that momentum, and he feels the only way to do that right now is to call a timeout, try to get themselves together, keep their composure.
There is the commissioner, Larry O'Brien, talking to the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Nick Milletti. Now, I spoke to Larry before the game, and he said so far he had not been brought into the controversy over Bill Fitch, who is the coach of Cleveland, but who has retained an attorney to get out of the final 2 years of his contract. There is also talk of a merger in the air. And Larry said that the ABA probably will be getting back to him sometime within the next 10 days. He was neither optimistic nor pessimistic about what might happen. There is speculation that the ABA owners will be meeting in Chicago to get together a proposal for Larry and the NBA owners like Milletti. And don't forget a spectacular day tomorrow. Super Joe Einhorn. And what's this? Muhammad Ali versus Gorilla Monsoon. Who is Gorilla Monsoon?
Gorilla Monsoon is a professional wrestler, Brent, and he was in a little bout one time, and Muhammad Ali crawled in the ring, and some very interesting things happened in that ring.
I thought it might be Howard Cosell and drag. And there is Irv Levin, the chairman of the Celtics board, along with Red Auerbach. And what a scene it was in the Boston Garden today. Auerbach closing the door of his office, breaking out the movie projector. Private talks with Tommy Heinsohn. Private talks with Paul Silas and JoJo White. They are up for this one.
There's no question about that. And you notice that they have not done it with over-aggressiveness from the defensive standpoint as far as holding and bumping and shoving. They have put good pressure on. They played good position, and they've gotten their game established without the overuse of aggressiveness that was prevalent in the last 2 games down in Phoenix. So they can get their game going without being that rough.
Dave Cowens with a much-deserved rest out of the game, and Jimmy Yard will chase Alvan Adams. Hillary inside. We've seen that play. It has worked a couple of times.
Yes, and it's a breakdown on the Celtics' weak side help. The man on the weak side should be dropping in to help that man who is running on the ball side.
28-12 and 3:30 to go in the first quarter. Adams may be a little too quick for Ard. We'll watch that. Jimmy rolling the left-handed shot. Pretty offensive play by Jimmy Yard.
Those are the type of plays where Jimmy Yard is tough, down in close to the basket. He should not be outside shooting jumpers. He took a bad shot in the last game that hurt him.
Great pass by Adams inside. Erickson could not put it down. And again in the Garden, the lid is on, and Erickson's down. He is hurt. Keith is hurt. JoJo White in and out. Havlicek, second chance down. Now Keith Erickson can get the injury time out over here. He is limping back over toward the Suns bench. He injured a leg after coming through, attempting a layup. John McLeod furious.
Looks like his right ankle, Brandy seemed to twist his right ankle after the play, trying to hustle back to get the ball.
Brent, they've called an injury timeout, which will not affect the overall timeouts. They still have 4 timeouts remaining in the ballgame.
It's a 20-point Boston Celtic lead, and let's take a look at that, Rick.
Let's watch the play. Now look at his right ankle right there. John Havlicek comes down and steps on it, and as he goes to move, his ankle turns in because of John stepping on it. It was just a freak play.
Westphal tried to penetrate and give it up, and there was pushing as Paul tried to swim down that left baseline and get to the basket. We had a lot of pretty girls down in Phoenix, and I see we've got quite a few on hand here in Boston. 2:44 to go in the first quarter. The ex-Celtic Paul Westphal at that line.
Paul and Charlie Scott have been alternating games as far as playing good games and then poor games. It seems that they're trying a little bit too hard when they're playing at the city where they came from. Paul played poorly in the first 2 games, played well in Phoenix, and Charlie played well up here and poorly down in Phoenix.
Let me set the Celtics lineup. Havlicek, Silas, McDonald, Ard, and White about to be altered. Dave Cowens will check back in. Westphal almost had a steal and an easy basket. White is open, all alone. For Phoenix on the attack, Van Arsdale, Westphal, Dennis Autry, Alvan Adams, and Curtis Perry. So the 2 centers are operating against Ard, and Cowens will come back. And it was Paul Silas who screened Autry out and yanked down the board, and Glenn McDonald gave it up. Ard didn't expect the pass. There was contact. Curtis Perry slammed into him underneath. A much more relaxed Tommy Heinsohn than we witnessed down in Phoenix. Still got his tie tight.
Let's watch this play coming down the floor. The long pass by JoJo White gets it down to Glenn McDonald, who can't shoot the ball, sees Jimmy Yard, passes to him. Curtis Perry cannot stop himself and runs into him, picking up the foul.
Cowens. Outlet from Westphal, too far away from Alvan Adams. He overlet him, and on the turnover, the Celtics will bring it back.
That's 7 turnovers now for the Phoenix Suns, Brent.
Pressure defense in the Garden. With 1:50 to go in the first quarter, Charlie Scott, again on the penetration, should have just gone right up for the basket that time. And here are the Suns. McDonald knocked it away and out of bounds.
I mean, an interesting substitution, bringing Charlie Scott back into the ball game with 3 personal fouls, with JoJo White going to the bench.
Might have expected to see Kevin Stakem in this situation, but instead Charlie is back out there with a score 34-14 to 133 in the first. Dick Van Arsdale. Here come the Celtics from behind the back. It's Scott. It's 3-on-2. Hondo on the left wing, breaking all alone, has position, battling for the ball. Curtis Perry takes it away, and here come the Suns. Havlicek running better than I've seen him at any time, and Jimmy Yard came right down on top of Van Arsdale. We had 5 team fouls against the Celtics, 4 against Phoenix. So penalty coming up for Van Arsdale.
Well, here's the penetration we talked so much about. Dick Van Arsdale gets McDonald turned sideways, goes inside, pulls the ball away from Jim Yard, who hacks him across the arm as he goes to the basket.
Keith Erickson is walking away with the Phoenix team position towards the locker room. He is now out of the arena. There is the back of one of the doctors as they go through. So Keith suffered an injured ankle, goes back here early in the first quarter. It's been a frustrating final series.
I was just going to say that. He's had difficulty putting the ball in the basket, plus getting into foul trouble in several of the games.
What a series he had against the Golden State Warriors. He's one of the reasons why Rick Barry is sitting next to me and not playing against the Boston Celtics. Glenn McDonald gives it up. 34-16, 50 seconds. If you're wondering about Game 6, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS, right after the soccer showdown between the Cosmos and the Rowdies, and Westphal, no offense.
Great defensive position that time. Picking up the charge on Paul Westphal.
And Arsdale out. Sobers and Westphal at guard for Phoenix. Autry and Adams, both centers on the floor for Phoenix, and both centers for Boston. Ard and Cowens. Steve Kaburski, 33 on the floor. Curtis Perry, who has come back after a short rest and has shown some aggression on that defensive board. Sobers directs the play verbally. Sobers wants it.
They're trying to take advantage of Charlie Scott, who has the 3 fouls, and Charlie backed off, and he had the shot to the basket.
Ard is open. At the buzzer. Jimmy Ard climaxes the highest scoring quarter of this series. In the third quarter of Game 2, the Boston Celtics exploded for 34 points. But here in the first quarter, with something to prove in Game 5, they get 36 and lead it.
To recap that first quarter briefly, Brent and Rick, of course, Boston established their running game, controlled both boards, shut off the driving lanes of Phoenix, and were able to penetrate to the basket. Therefore, the score, 36-18. And right away, Cowens is hustling in the backcourt as we start the second quarter. Pressure from the Celtics, who lead it 36-18. Phoenix on the attack. Gar Heard, Perry, Autry, Sobers, and Westphal. Adams on the bench. Sobers left alone.
Show you just how effective the Boston Celtics defense was in that first quarter. Phoenix Suns never scored back-to-back field goals.
White.
That's 2 times Ricky Sobers has turned his head to the basketball and been backdoored by JoJo White.
All alone, Westphal with a miss. And the Celtics bring it back quickly. And the Suns are there just as quickly, even though Autry fell down. Jimmy Yard. And Steve Kaburski left alone. They did not seal off the left side of the glass. Kaburski came flying across for an easy second chance hoop. Scott does not want the 4th foul. He let Sobers go. Phoenix turned it over anyway.
Let's watch Steve Kaburski come in. Here's the jump shot. Watch Kaburski come down the middle with nobody screening him off. Here he comes, wide open lane. Ball bounces right to him. Easy layup.
Phil Lumpkin will check in for John McLeod's Phoenix Suns. Offensive foul on Dave Cowens. Cowens protesting. Foul number 2 on the redhead. And Lumpkin and Mindy, I couldn't be pulling more for someone to come in this game and play well. He had an awfully tough game.
There's the play right now. We're going to try and get in. Now watch Dave start to back in. Backs in a little bit of an acting job.
I don't know whether Murphy wanted to call a foul or a traffic critic on that play.
10-28. Autry came through, and there was a 3-second violation, so it won't count.
Curtis Perry was not able to get out of that lane quick enough.
And so, Rick, it stays at 40-20.
Field goal
10:23 to
percentage
go.
is 31% for Phoenix, Brent, and 61% for the Boston Celtics.
A devastating first quarter. Dave Cowens is continuing his reign of terror as we begin the second quarter.
Phoenix Suns have not been able to shut down the inside game of the Boston Celtics, and it's hurting them very badly in this ball game.
In Phoenix, Cowens had only 19 shots. Lumpkin misses. Autry is there. Won't fall. Phil retrieves it and gives it back to Dennis, who's all alone. Cowens may have 19 shots in the first half of this game. All right. White. Silas ready to check back in for Tommy Heinsohn. Westphal cut off by Ard. It's offense, no doubt about it. Jimmy Ard with great position. 2 fouls against Westphal.
Watch the play coming up here. Here's a Jim Ard move over, establishes position. Paul Westphal making the contact as Jimmy Ard establishes excellent position. Another fine defensive play by the Boston Celtics here in the first half.
Milwaukee was the victim in 1974. All told, there are 12 of those championship banners up there. And before the game, Al Bianchi, the assistant coach at Phoenix, walked in, looked around, and pointed and said, "Boys, you see those flags? I helped put some of them there." Al Bianchi was a losing guard several times to Boston as JoJo White with a miss, and Curtis Perry yanks it down. Now, Rick, tell me what Phoenix must do to get back in this basketball game. They're down by 10 hoops.
They've got to shut off the middle, make it a little more difficult for the Boston Celtics to score easy baskets, and try to execute their offense and get inside just like that.
Just like you told them, Rick Barry, with 8:55 to go, it's 42-24. And that is the first back-to-back hoop for Phoenix so far in this game. Kapersky and Perry collided, and we've got an offensive foul against Steve Kapersky. I have been impressed with the way Curtis Perry has hit the glass and has also drawn some fouls and has scored on lob passes. Tommy Heinsohn has seen enough. He's going to put the leader back in. Hondo Havlicek. Gar Heard, pull up, high arch. Pretty shot. 42-26. I didn't give Gar Heard enough credit the other night in Phoenix. Spectacular game. He truly is becoming one of the all-stars in this league. Curtis Perry was there intimidating on defense. Adams gives it up to Lumpkin. Quick pass to Westphal. Great control by Paul Westphal on a pass from Lumpkin. It's 42-28. Hold on.
That's 8 straight points for the Phoenix Suns, Brent.
Scott. Cowens with an offensive board, and Adams came right up into his face and drew the foul.
Let's take a look at the last fast break. Some shot that Paul Westphal makes. Here's Alvan Adams throwing it out to Lumpkin. Watch him lead the pass over now to Westphal. A little bit ahead of him. He bobbles it, gets it with his left hand. Great body control. Lays it up, and it crawls right on over the rim and in.
A lot of people, Rick, may think that's walking, but just merely the fact that you touch the ball does not constitute an illegal step. You must have control in order to travel. If you don't have the ball, you can't walk with it, can you?
I didn't think it was walking.
All right, I just want to let the fans out there know that it wasn't walking.
It's 43-28. 7 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the first half. Red Auerbach on round ball. Jack Whitaker for the Belmontes. Westphal gets inside again. 43-30, so ever so slowly. The Phoenix Suns clawing their way back into this game. May have missed that. As I picked up on Westphal, Charlie Scott traveled. He couldn't control the ball, but let me remind everybody that Jack Whitaker will report on the Belmont at halftime.
Let's watch this last play. Alvan Adams with the ball. Watch on the weak side. There's a good screen set by Perry. It frees Westphal going to the hoop. There should have been a switch that time by John Havlicek.
Adams has it knocked away and retrieves it. It's amazing to think Alvan Adams would be a senior in college. We had a whistle blown away from the ball. JoJo White was holding. Let me check the team fouls. 1 against Boston, 1 against Phoenix, and 7 minutes and 9 seconds. They have come to play basketball and not foul each other in this contest. Somebody wanting 3 seconds called. Alvan Adams
Beautiful play by Alvan Adams. You notice how he made a great fake with the ball to draw the defensive out of position, went to the basket.
Tommy Heinsohn with a timeout right now, Rick. And just as you pointed out, Phoenix had to be patient. They were, and they've cut it. It's 43-32, 6:57 to go.
Grant, we've got two rookies playing on this championship team, one of which, of course, is Ricky Sobers, and the other, the Rookie of the Year, Alvan Adams. In 1957, there was also two rookies on a championship team. Let me have those two rookies.
In just a moment, Paul Silas scored, drew the foul. He will come to the free throw line with a chance for the three-point play. What I'm doing here, folks, is trying to grab a few seconds so I can think. In 57 were the Celtics involved.
And one of those two rookies was the Rookie of the Year.
How about Havlicek? Was he a rookie in 57? I give up.
The two rookies were Heinsohn and Bill Russell.
Oh, of course. Tommy
and the Rookie of the Year was not Russell. It was
Tommy,
Heinsohn.
right. Here's Westphal giving it to Curtis Perry. 46-32. There's our rookie. Mindy was just talking about him. 46-34. It's a 12-point lead. Celtics were up by 20. A 36-point explosion in the first quarter if you just joined us. Scott left baseline, and Gar Heard was there on the defense. Westphal back down. Suns are coming back in a hurry as Curtis Perry came up, and that's 4 fouls on Charlie Scott.
Well, the gamble by Tommy
Heinsohn
Heinsohn has not paid off, Brent. Put Charlie back in the ball game, trying to get his starting lineup in. Here's Westphal going to pass off to Perry. You'll see him come into the picture. Charlie Scott moving over, definitely moving on the play. No question about that foul.
Why doesn't Scott try to avoid the foul on that particular play? Now, he did the same thing against Van Arsdale and committed a foul where he maybe should have given him the field goal, and here we have the same play again. I think there was 2 fouls he committed that he certainly could have avoided.
Well, without any question, but he's a very emotional young fellow, and he's trying to work hard. And Tom Heinsohn is talking to him on the bench right now, trying to get him to calm down.
Give it up, and here come the Suns. Gar Heard. And it is 46-39. Celtics back quickly. Stakem working with White. Stakem gives it up and out of bounds. And here come the Suns, and Heinsohn wants a timeout. And as the Celtics go over to talk to Tommy Heinsohn, let me make a point about Charlie Scott and Heinsohn. You saw him talking to him. Down in Phoenix, Tommy was up screaming and agreeing with him. Tonight, he's trying to calm him down. It's a different Tommy Heinsohn in the Boston Garden. I think I said the biggest lead was 20 points. Actually, Boston led John McLeod and Al Bianchi's Phoenix Suns by 22 points. And in 4 minutes and 19 seconds, they have whittled that to 7.
Yes, and they've done it with the fast break. They've got easy opportunities, making the steals, good defense, playing Boston's style of play.
The Celtics trying to slow them down with some pressure in the backcourt. Lumpkin goes down. Phoenix bench screaming there was a foul. Lob pass intended for Gar Heard, and John Havlicek is pushing over there.
They were screaming for a foul from the Phoenix bench because Dave Cowens thought he ran right over Lumpkin.
In the last 3:45, Phoenix has outscored Boston 19-4. Great veterans there, huh? Van Arsdale and Havlicek. This time it's a misfire. Nelson saves it. Havlicek. And Curtis Perry got back. Hondo just couldn't quite get the handle on it, but was he wide open?
He was, and they didn't see him quite soon enough, and the ball was on his fingertips, and Gar Heard ran into the ball and knocked it out of his hands. That was the break for the Suns. Celtics had an easy chance there. White.
I would say, Rick, that JoJo White does most of the scoring from the left side of the court as opposed to the right side. He loves that position on the other side, away from his right shooting arm.
Interesting observation, because the last second shot in Phoenix was from the right side. 4 minutes and 50 seconds first half. Silas was up there with Gar Heard.
That is covering a man like a blanket. You could not ask for a better defensive job than what Paul Silas did just there.
48-39. 4:46, Game 5, NBA Championship. Game 6 live on CBS, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday. Van Arsdale. The missed shot by Cowens after Paul Silas had tried to control the offensive end. Bill Lumpkin, a second-year pro from Miami of Ohio, formerly the Portland Trailblazers. Nelly knocked it away from Curtis Perry. Turn around by Adams. Pretty play. It's 48-41. It's back to within 7. 4-11. And Nate Hawthorne will check in for John McLeod's son. JoJo was working hard on Lumpkin, and he finally put it in.
Well, Minnie, we did it again. You talked about the right side, and he plumped one in there.
He used the glass, though, Rick. He didn't swish the net.
That's true.
Adams again. Quick release on that shot. White right side.
Again the right side. Rick, what are you going to do about that?
Yeah, just shows you that JoJo's a heck of a player.
52-41. Adams. Iron. Here comes JoJo. You can shoot from the right. You can lead the break all alone. And Paul Silas got back with a good effort on Garfield Heard. He came rolling down there like an express train as Dennis Autry gets up. There was a foul called. Nate Hawthorne in along with Autry.
Now let's watch the play. JoJo driving in, makes a good drive to the hoop, lays it up, gets a bad break on the shot. It rolls off. Gar Heard's in position. You see Silas into the picture. He jumps up, and his momentum carries him into Gar Heard, picking up the foul. And there's the fourth foul on the Boston Celtics as Kevin Stakem also comes into the game for Boston, replacing JoJo White.
Let me set the Phoenix attack. Lumpkin and Van Arsdale, Hawthorne, Autry, and Adams. John McLeod goes to his two-center offense. Board power. Van Arsdale takes the shot. Havlicek rebound. Gets past Van Arsdale. Comes in between Autry and Adams and crashes into that basket support as he went down, striking it with his shoulder.
John saw a little bit of an opening, and he just knifed right in between the two defensive players. Let's watch him again. There he is with the ball. A little opening, and he just squeezes his way through there, picking up the foul. Took a pretty good fall on the ground, but he just did manage to avoid the support, Brent.
Ricky Sobers back on the floor for Phoenix. Havlicek on the line because of Dennis Autry's foul.
We were in the locker room watching John Havlicek get ready for the game, Brent, and he is the most fastidious type of player you ever want to see, or an individual. He has all his toiletries in height, from left to right, in size, and not only that, but when he gets in dress, he takes his socks and he puts them on individual hangers or hooks. Unbelievable sight to watch him get ready.
He also has his basketball game in order as he picks up Ricky Sobers. Stakem has Lumpkin. Silas will take Autry. Sobers out far from the glass. Cowens, 54-41. Nelson. And Adams got a hand on it, and here come the Suns. Cowens was battling, and it's a backcourt foul as he came back out to get it. That is going to be the third foul. And it was committed in the backcourt.
I believe they called a foul on Silas, Brent.
And not Cowens, because I see two over there. Take a look at that.
Well, it was actually Paul Silas got the first foul reaching in, and Dave came over and made contact. But the foul, I believe, was called on Paul Silas, his second.
Heinsohn checking with the scorer's table, too, just to make sure. But the two went up, and that would be official. It is on Paul Silas and not Cowens in the backcourt.
I think there could have been a foul call maybe earlier. When the Celtics had the ball, I think both officials were blocked out and didn't see one of the Celtics get fouled, therefore causing the turnover and the backcourt foul.
And Don Nelson looked like somebody grabbed him as he went through on the arm, and he threw the ball right into the hands of the Phoenix Suns.
It's an 11-point Celtic lead. 2 minutes and 18 seconds to go until halftime. Red Auerbach, Jack Whitaker on the Belmont. Halftime, Sonny Hill with highlights. Dave Cowens faking away on Adams. Not only got the field goal, but drew the foul on the rookie. That is Adams' third foul, the fourth team foul, and Garfield Heard will come into this basketball game. Autry, remember, is already on the floor.
There's Dave Cowens down low with Alvan Adams. He gets the ball, reverses, gives a good fake, gets Alvan Adams in the air, hits him on the hand, and Alvan Adams violated one of the primary rules in defensive basketball. Do not leave your feet.
A 14-point Boston Celtic lead. Phoenix had whittled it to 7. Then the Celts got 7 more on the lead end.
Suns must be very, very patient here and try and get a good shot. That is not a good shot.
And again it is Cowens and Hawthorne with a spectacular defensive play, and then he was all over John Havlicek. He was frustrated on the miss. That's a mistake that a young basketball player will make, like Nate Hawthorne. Tremendous play you'll see again. Rick Barry, tell us about it.
Yes, here we go. Here's the shot coming off. Cowens with the ball, makes the pass. A super interception by Hawthorne. He rushes himself and takes the shot. And in his anxiety to go get it back, he knew he missed it. He just climbs right up John Havlicek's back as if he were a ladder. And he's done that in several playoff games. He's got great jumping ability, and he just gets carried away with his emotion trying to go to those offensive boards.
Havlicek made absolutely sure that he drew that foul. He crumpled up down there.
Phoenix Suns, of course, in trouble right now with their 2 top scorers in the series so far, Westphal and Alvan Adams, sitting on the bench, both in foul trouble.
And the Suns trailing 59-43 with 1:35 to go in the first half of Game 5. Sobers forcing some shots from the outside. The Suns have gone away from their patient pattern of style, getting some easy layups. Cowens throws one up, and Autry and Silas were battling underneath.
That's going to be the 3rd foul, I believe, on Paul Silas. Picking up a foul as he crashes into the boards. And you have to give the Celtics credit now, because what they've done is reverse this trend that was taking place with the Phoenix Suns chopping that lead down to 7 points from 22 in 4 minutes. The last 4 minutes, they built it back up to 16.
Havlicek drying off, uses a couple of seconds to exchange conversation and thoughts with Tommy Heinsohn and John Killalay. Autry.
Grant, with that blue-vested suit that John McLeod is wearing over there, looking so handsome, you would never guess he's a basketball coach. If you met him on the street, you'd think he was a business executive or possibly an attorney. Very good-looking, sharp suit.
59-45, 117. Cowens. Autry was out there. Good defense. Dennis with control.
That's where they like to see Dave Cowens, I'm sure, rather than underneath the basket. He's caused a lot more problems underneath.
Inside of a minute left in the first half, Boston Garden. Battle for the loose ball. JoJo White with control. Last 40 seconds in the first half coming up. Silas calling the play because he picked up the signal from Tommy Heinsohn. Got to hurry with the shot clock a factor. Nelly was crashing to the floor. Pain on his face as he went down.
Don Nelson once again with a good fake. Let's take a look at this play again. You watch him get the ball inside. He'll turn, give a good fake with the ball, gets his man off his feet. Hawthorne drives in as he goes in. Gets hit down low and takes a pretty good shot. When he hits that floor, he hit it with his right elbow, his back, and his head also crashed down as he went to the floor.
I must say that I do not think it a coincidence that the commissioner, Larry O'Brien, is in attendance tonight, and both coaches have stopped their complaining. The referees are going unnoticed in this game, and the ball players are playing basketball. Larry walked away toward the locker room, and I have a hunch something was said.
Well, John McLeod, I think, said it well after the last ball game. Of course, he just got finished winning his 2nd playoff game and evening the series, but he said, I complained in the first 2 ball games. Heinsohn has done it in the last 2. Why don't we just be quiet and give the game back to the players? And that's exactly what has happened. And it's been a fine basketball game to this point. With the Celtics having 2 good surges, the Phoenix has 1, and that's been the difference right now.
Rick, I've always said that no one pays to watch a coach nor a referee. They come in to see the ball players play.
That's what I try to tell the officials, too.
We don't listen sometimes, right? Why don't they listen to you?
I don't know.
25 seconds first half. Brent Musburger along with Rick Barry and Mindy Rudolph from the Boston Garden. This is Game 5 of the NBA Championship. Game 6 Sunday. Sobers and Cowens was out there, and Ricky forced another one out. And Nate Hawthorne, and he had 1 foot in the back court. As he was battling to save it, there was 1 foot over the line. There's no question about this.
There's the play. He picks up the ball, makes a good interception. Can't get control of himself. He hits the floor, and he continues to go. Now watch his foot. The left one will step back over the half-court line, and that is the violation. He had possession, and you're not allowed to cross back over that half-court line once you have it in the front court.
Paul Silas will rest the last few seconds of the first half. Kaburski may have brought a play in, but it doesn't matter. JoJo was going to take it. I am impressed with Nate Hawthorne. He showed some skills here. That shot, of course, not good. The buzzer had gone off beforehand. So in the Boston Garden, the Celtics get 36 in the first quarter. Then their 22-point lead is cut to 7. But now they open it up again. It's 61-45 at the half.
Tonight's NBA championship game is sponsored by the Miller Brewing Company, brewers of Miller High Life. If you've got the time, we've got the beer. And by Datsun, America's #1 selling import for cars and trucks. Datsun saves.
61-45. If you take a look at the halftime statistics, the Celtics shot over 60% in the first quarter, didn't they, Rick?
Yes, they were shooting around 61% in that first quarter, and that was the run that, of course, gave them that 22-point lead. Then the Phoenix Suns came back and battled into contention, cutting it down to 7, and you have to give credit, of course, to the Celtics. They came back and pushed it back to 9 again. Of course, the Suns had 2 of their top scorers on the bench, Adams and Westphal. There you see the scoring right there with Adams and Perry leading the scoring for the Phoenix Suns. And, of course, the man who started his first playoff game in a long time, John Havlicek, with 17 points, and he certainly helped to ignite them. But you have to give credit to all of them. All of the Celtics played exceptionally good basketball in that first quarter. Anybody that came in the ball game was doing the job.
They really come out smoking that first quarter, didn't they, fellas?
Havlicek now 11 points behind Wilt Chamberlain for 3rd spot on the all-time playoff scoring list. 61-45. Boston Celtics trying to win their 13th title in 20 years.
They're coming out again, putting that pressure on.
They'll set the Phoenix attack. Adams giving it to Westphal along with Sobers, Gar Heard, and it was Curtis Perry who went up, controlled the offensive glass, put it down, and drew the foul from Paul Silas.
Let's watch this play again.
Silas is 4th, Rick.
There's Havlicek leaning on him inside. Still leaning. The ball bounced around. He just keeps moving, keeps battling, and is able to sneak in between the 2 men to get the ball and put it back in. It's his first offensive rebound of the game. He only had 1 rebound in the last ball game down in Phoenix. He already has 5 now.
Second half just underway. Scott White, Cowens, Silas, and Havlicek on the attack for the Celtics. All Westphal with control after the turnover by the Celtics. Turnovers plagued Boston in the 2 games played down in Phoenix. Offensive foul, backing in.
That is the 4th foul on Alvan Adams, and that brought both Al Bianchi and John McLeod off the bench. They were looking for a foul on Cowens. Instead, their top scorer is now in foul difficulty.
This is the earliest that Alvan Adams has been in foul trouble in this series. Scott controlled the offensive glass.
Had a tough angle that time on the board. Couldn't get it up high enough.
Ricky Sobers penetrates. And the underhand layup makes it 61-50. It's an 11-point Celtic lead. 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. Silence.
Well, they're
outside,
insulting
he's
him.
been devastating, Rick.
Yes, Fred, they're insulting him as they did in the previous 4 games, but he's been popping in that outside jumper now. He's made 3 or 4 from out there.
What a difference that makes against the Phoenix defense. Garfield Heard, who's assigned to Silas, has been sloughing off and taking a driving lane away from Cowens. But if Silas hits outside, it's different. Gar Heard, on the other hand, has been a top-notch offensive man ever since he came to Phoenix from Buffalo. The Suns turned red hot. He was the final ingredient John McLeod needed. Charlie Scott. Sobers slowing it down. Like Adams, he would have been a senior in college. Both players gave up their final year of eligibility to come into the NBA. This year's draft will be on Tuesday. JoJo White misses on the layup. It's 63-52. 9:35 to go in the third quarter. Perry turns around. Just watch the Suns wreck on defense, how they always try to cut off the nearest passing lane. That's what John McLeod teaches them. Zone principle defense, and again you see Paul Silas left alone outside, and he's tough out there tonight. It has been a big factor in this basketball game. 65-52.
They must go out and pick him up, and if they do that, it's going to allow Cowens to get Alvan Adams underneath one-on-one.
Westphal. Won by the Suns. They come out with Sobers in control. It's a defensive switch now, and Havlicek is going with Adams inside. Gar Heard got Paul Silas up in the air and then came with the shot, and Paul Silas is in serious foul trouble. He has 5.
Take a look at this play right now. Gar Heard gets the ball, makes a good little fake to the right side, puts the ball down, head fake, gets him up in the air, on top of him for the foul, and he has troubles.
Back in the Boston Garden, and don't forget, tomorrow on CBS, Super Joe Einhorn will try to set a jumping record on his motorcycle, and Muhammad Ali will take on, what's that fella's name, Mindy?
Gorilla Monsoon. It sounds like a stormy ape. I mean, does that lay on you anywhere at all?
I'll tell you, I'm going to watch the spectacular. Tommy Heinsohn gets a minute, he'll watch it too. All right, here come the Celtics. It's 65-55, 10-point Boston lead, 8:15 to go. Silas has been the Celtics point producer from the field so far. Jimmy Yard is in on the attack. How about that? Just as long as it goes in, it counts. Taking Perry. Now he goes back on Adams, and Havlicek will run with Curtis. Curtis rolled in a pretty hook shot that time.
Difficult to defensive man if you allow him to get that good position coming across the middle.
Rondo, pull-up jump shot. Charlie Scott driving to the basket. Heard was there the first time, and Alvan Adams with control, and it is hot and heavy underneath. Technical foul has been called against the Phoenix bench. That is the 6th technical foul in this series.
The reason for that, Brent, is that John McLeod and Al Bianchi really were upset. They thought that Dave Cowens fouled Alvan Adams on the rebound, and they kept yelling. Now, the only thing I question here, Mindy, I'm not saying the technical is wrong. I think it was right. But it looks like Phoenix may have had a fast break opportunity. Shouldn't the official wait until the play has gone dead?
Well, actually, there was no advantage on the Phoenix Suns. They had nobody down court, and the ball was in the backcourt with a lot of Celtics around. And I really do think that McLeod had a complaint coming, because probably what the officials did not see was Cowens' hands down on Adams' hips. That's where the foul took place, down low, not up top.
Scott tipped the pass from Sobers. Adams. Heinsohn is screaming that he traveled. Perry, you see it's pushed over on Cowens, and Alvan Adams now has Havlicek, and Havlicek drives into him, trying to draw that 5th foul on him. Jimmy Yard taken down by Perry.
It looked like he came pretty close to doing it. It seemed like Alvan made some contact in that play.
Heard. Havlicek with control for the leaders. Intercepted by Sobers, who stepped into the lane. Westphal and Jimmy Ard blocks it. Knocked off the glass. Suns control. Ard with a short shot that missed him. Cowens. Jimmy Ard's 3 of 4 from the field. Make it 3 of 5 with that air ball.
I think the crowd forced him to shoot that ball. They started yelling because he was open, but Jim didn't want it.
Sobers. And Nate Hawthorne, who displayed some athletic skills in the first half, will be checking back in.
Well, it's the Suns' turn to spurt. They've knocked off 9 points of that Celtic lead here with 5:42 to go in the third quarter.
Havlicek deep. At the shot clock buzzer. Got it off in time. Westphal back to Ricky Sobers. Double move and got the basket and the foul. What a play by the rookie, Ricky Sobers. A little bit of a pump shot that time. Rick, I don't know how he got the ball off.
Well, let's take a look at it and see. Here he goes cutting down the middle. It's a good pass. He goes up in the air, has to double clutch as Havlicek comes in front of him, throws it up with a nice soft touch. It goes in. He picks up the foul, a chance for a three-point play.
Back in the Boston Garden, 5 minutes and 19 seconds left in the third quarter. It is 68-63. Phoenix has clawed its way back into that basketball game behind John McLeod and his assistant Al Bianchi. For fouls, we have Silas of the Boston Celtics sitting right now with 5. Charlie Scott with 4. Cowens with 2. Adams with 4. Westphal with 3. Sobers closes the lead again by adding that free throw after that beautiful layup. Now it's a 2-field goal game. Fans have been quiet in the Garden. The Celtics could use their support right now. Len McDonald, number 30, with the ball on the floor, gave it up to Hondo. Cowens inside wanted it, and Alvan Adams was there with the defensive block.
That was some great block by Alvan Adams.
Suns can pull to within 2 points. Sobers came down, and it was offense, using the arm to force away the defensive player.
Let's watch Dave Cowens in that last play. You see him get the ball inside. They try to front him, send 2 men at him. He comes along. Adams hangs back, times perfectly, and just a super block by Alvan Adams. Ricky Sobers on the last one had his man beat. He used his arm and he hooked him. It's a good call by the official.
4-point basketball game. Approaching Cowens open inside, just couldn't get a handle on it. Whistle blew. Cowens was fouled. Curtis Perry, number 18. One-shot play, he says, and of course, neither team is yet in the penalty, so they'll go out over on the side. He was not shooting. He just couldn't quite get the ball back up in the air quickly enough.
Sometimes you just can't find the handle, as you pointed out. I don't know why that happens, but it just does.
That's just the first foul of the quarter on Phoenix, contrary to the other 2 games we saw it there, Brent. Not too many fouls this particular ball game.
Curtis Perry gives it to Sobers on the steal, and Perry forcing the turnover to the rookie. Tommy Heinsohn with a timeout. The situation is this. The Boston Celtics had led it by 22. It was cut to 7, back up to 14. Now, suddenly, it's 2 points. 4:13 to go in the third quarter.
Brent, it's amazing how these games can fluctuate up and down. Boston hasn't scored from the field in 3:48, and Phoenix has outscored them this third quarter 21-7.
Ricky Sobers has matched the entire Celtic team. Alvan Adams had control, and he was fouled back there, and that is in the backcourt. And I saw a very small core of Phoenix fans over there behind their bench who were up as the team came out following that timeout, urging this club on. Alvan Adams following that backcourt foul, coming up to the free throw line. It's 68-66.
Well, aside from the poor shooting, as you saw, Phoenix now shooting 67% to 19 or so for the Celtics. The Celtic bugaboo in the last 2 games down in Phoenix, turnovers has hurt them in the third quarter. They've turned the ball over 4 times in the early going, and that really hurt them because Phoenix converted them into field goals.
We are tied in Boston. 3:58 to go in the third quarter. An amazing turnaround.
It's the first tie in the ball game, Brett.
Dick Van Arsdale. Rick has checked in. Paul Westphal will take a rest for John McLeod. See what the Celtics come up with. From the perimeter, they moved it. And Steve Koberski sunk it.
And Steve got that shot because Gar Heard was dropping in the middle to clog it up, and they got the ball to the open man for the jump shot. Good ball movement by the Celtics.
Murray wants it. McDonald is fronting him. Shot clock goes down inside of 5. Sobers goes for 9 points. Not this time. Cowens outlet to White, who's breaking. Van Arsdale got back on defense and knocked it out of bounds. No foul, even though the crowd wants it.
Let's watch the defense on Cowens. Look at the 3 men of Phoenix right around Dave Cowens. You see Gar Heard is already dropping in. The ball goes out to Koberski, who's open for the jumper.
Quick shot by McDonald off the inbounds pass. Steve Koberski. Heard to Van Arsdale and Charlie Scott ready to come back into the game. Phoenix trailing it by 2 points. Inside of 3 minutes left, third quarter. Game 5, NBA championship. Perry goes for the tie. Control by Gar Heard. And Alvan Adams. And finally the Celtics have got the ball. JoJo White. Iron. Cowens controls the offensive rebound and hooks it in. It's a 4-point Celtic lead.
Notice something in that last series, Brett. There were 3 Celtics who had open shots and didn't take them. I think they're playing just possibly a little too cautious at this point in the ballgame.
Nate Hawthorne ready to check back in for the Suns. Crowd chanting defense. Adams in the air, and it's a 2-point Celtic lead with 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go.
The man the Celtics are missing right now is Paul Silas. The Suns are getting a lot of second opportunities on the board, and they certainly miss Paul on the defensive boards and offensive boards as well.
Silas with 5 fouls on Tommy Heinsohn's bench. McDonald outside. It's 4 points. It's 74-70, 145. You are watching a team that finished only 2 games above 500 in the regular season, battle for a championship. They are a wild card team, and they are within 2 points of the Boston Celtics in Game 5 in the Boston Garden. One of the most incredible comebacks in all of sport. Wild card, dueling the dynasty for an NBA title. Cross court, Koberski. Cowens, double team. And Curtis Perry on the turnover as again those Suns clog the inside passing lane. Inside pass off of Sobers' hands and out of bounds. Nate Hawthorne and Charlie Scott check in. Hawthorne for Phoenix and Scott for Boston.
I would be surprised if we don't see very shortly a zone warning against the Phoenix Suns, because they are really clogging up that 16-foot lane and blocking off everything. Let's watch for it and see if it happens.
Clock moves inside of a minute, third quarter, Boston Garden. White tries to penetrate and is cut off there. Scott tries to get in, and Van Arsdale's got him, but he bounced off, and Scott had daylight.
That was an all-individual move that time by Charlie Scott.
76-72, 4-point Celtic lead. Shot clock down, good defense. And again, Ricky Sobers gave it up down there by the inline.
Those 2 turnovers now have hurt the Phoenix Suns. Alvan Adams throwing the ball away, Ricky Sobers losing the ball, and they have not gotten an opportunity to shoot the ball at the basket.
John McLeod signals the play. That's his shrill whistle that you picked up on our microphone. Cowens wants it. Cowens, inside move on Alvan Adams, through it. That is the 5th foul on the Rookie of the Year, Alvan Adams, and that's exactly what Dave Cowens wanted to do.
That now, of course, is going to put Alvan Adams on the bench. Dennis Archer will be coming back in the ball game. Let's watch the play again. We see Cowens with the ball. This man cuts through. He makes the move to the inside. Adams gave him the inside position, left his feet, and made contact with Dave. Good call by the official.
Watch the arm.
76-72. pressure is on number 21 of the Phoenix Suns, Dennis Autry, who must take Cowens.
You don't think that he's an intense individual? Do you see that look on his face?
5-point lead. Sobers against the clock. Threw one up that would not fall. But it was a splendid comeback by the Phoenix Suns. They whittled away, crawled right back into it. We've got 12 minutes of action. It's 77-72 Boston. As you look at the third quarter shooting statistics, and Mindy, what's the report on Keith Erickson from the Suns locker room?
It's been diagnosed as a sprained ankle. How severely, they don't know as yet. They're packing it ice. But there's one thing we do know for sure, Brent and Rick. He will not be back for the rest of this game.
Crowd in the Boston Garden coming to its feet, all of Phoenix. The Boston Celtics have not lost a playoff game in the Garden this year. Their playoff record coming into this game 10-6. Phoenix 10-7. Phoenix played the extra game against Golden State. Cowens comes up on Autry and puts the Celtics in command by 7, 79-72. Adams on John McLeod's bench with 5 fouls. Over Westphal's head and out of bounds.
That's 3 out of the last 4 times the Phoenix Suns have come down the floor. They have turned the ball over in the late in the third quarter and early here in the fourth. And those type of plays are the ones that kill you in the long run.
Cowens waiting for someone to break open. Scott finally had to come around him. And there was an offensive foul against David Cowens.
Let's watch the replay on this. Now watch Dave Cowens as he hands off, turn into Dick Van Arsdale. Didn't look like he made that much a move that time, Mindy.
I disagree, Rick. I think that once you establish that pick, you can't even move 3 inches, and Cowens did turn around, causing the offensive foul.
Nate Hawthorne went up on the missed shot by Westphal and tapped it back in. For Dave Cowens, his 3rd foul. It's 79-74. 10 minutes and 45 seconds left in Game 5. And Cowens going to work on Autry. And Steve Kaburski came flying across. There was contact underneath. But Steve Kaburski has demonstrated an ability to get open underneath that offensive board.
He has done a good job for the front keeping that ball alive. And I think Garfield Heard sloughing in there is hurting, not boxing out.
Cowens driving, and Gar Heard came across that time with the block.
One of the best shot blockers from the weak side in all of pro basketball, Garfield Heard.
As demonstrated with that last play. Heard with the ball, gave it up to Westphal, who had daylight, just not falling, and here is Nate Hawthorne. Giving to Van Arsdale and back to Nate. Autry out high in the Phoenix offense. Offensive foul on Nate Hawthorne. The Celtics will have it. He was pushing off. It's a 5-point Boston lead with 9 minutes and 57 seconds left in the game.
That young man has a lot of natural ability. He just has to learn to control his emotions somewhat. He just gets a little bit too physically involved during some of the basketball games.
Cowens to work on Autry again. Dennis has it knocked away. Havlicek. Cowens down there. Cowens threw it up and was fouled, and Autry doesn't like the call.
Well, there's no question that Dennis Autry picked up the foul there, but the man who made the play, let's watch, is John Havlicek. Well, you can't see him. He kept it alive, and Autry just throws his body into Dave in an effort to prevent him from making that basket. But Havlicek was the man that did the job. He kept the ball alive with his good timing.
I'll tell you, Autry is working Cowens over pretty good. And in retaliation, Cowens is no pussycat. He'll work Autry over pretty good.
81-74. Boston over Phoenix. Game 6 Sunday on CBS. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Right after the soccer game between New York and Tampa. Hawthorne with Havlicek down on the floor had an open shot. Would not fall. Here comes JoJo. Charlie Scott, pretty move. And John McLeod needs a timeout.
At the Phoenix Suns are failing to put the ball in the basket. The Boston Celtics capitalized on it. Dave Cowens controlling the boards, getting good opportunity shots up the floor.
Back in the Boston Garden, Rick.
Yes, and a big factor in this ball game, Ben, right now has been Alvan Adams picking up his 5th foul with 5 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. And since that time, the Phoenix Suns have not been able to generate much offense.
9 minutes and 13 seconds left in the game. Adams still on the bench. I wonder when John McLeod will bring him back. It might depend on the scoreboard.
Can't wait too long, Brent. If they fall too far behind, it'll be an impossible task.
Westphal. Hawthorne leaped over. Great athletic skills. Curtis Perry. Andre tapped it back in. It'll count, and there was a foul.
Dennis Autry had established excellent inside position. Let's watch this play again. Hawthorne passes it to Perry, takes the jumper. Cowens must go out on him. He forces his way inside on JoJo White. There's JoJo with the push-off, and Dennis with the tap-in.
Paul Silas checks back into the game. Like Alvan Adams, Paul Silas has 5 personal. The only difference being that Silas is out on the court for Tommy Heinsohn, and Adams still resting for Phoenix.
I'm sure he would rather be in there playing, Brent.
It's a 6-point Boston lead. 8 minutes and 44 seconds to play in the Boston Garden. Don't forget the Belmont tomorrow afternoon on CBS. Cowens, and there was contact. Dennis Autry hit his arm as he came up. Dave Cowens will come to the free throw line. 4 fouls on Autry.
There you go. Dave Cowens making the move to the inside. Quickly comes back in to the baseline. Sobers tries to go up. Autry jumping with him, hitting him on the hands. Once again, defensive player trying to make the shot block. If he would just allow the man to shoot, he had good defensive position. Make the man score the basket. Don't bail him out on a touch shot.
Nate Hawthorne passing Garfield Heard, heading over toward John McLeod on the Phoenix bench. Another impressive performance by Nate Hawthorne. 84-77. We've got 8 minutes and 25 seconds to go in the game. Series is tied. 2 victories each. It's been a home court series so far. Third shot was short. Cowens dominating underneath. Traveling.
On that play, Brent, Havlicek dragged that sore foot. It looked to me like he couldn't put too much pressure on it.
He's told me in the locker room before the game, Mendy, that during the later stages of a ball game, his foot tends to get tired on him, and it seems to give way, and he just doesn't have the strength necessary to do what he'd like to do out there.
Westphal cuts to the basket beautifully with that left-handed shot. He is great on that play because he can come up with either hand, as Rick Barry explained in Game 4. So far in the second half, John Havlicek has not scored a point for the Celtics. 7 minutes and 35 seconds, and Alvan Adams will check back in. JoJo White makes it Boston 86, Phoenix 79.
Just shows you how sometimes things don't go well for you. That's the exact same shot JoJo White took in the game down at Phoenix, only it didn't go down there, and here he made it.
Autry went to the floor. Back up. Sobers was open on the other side momentarily. They couldn't get to him. Scott with the steal from Westphal. Scott with a pass off to JoJo White. 3-second violation.
That's a good call by Richie Powers. He was standing there and counting the seconds out as Dave Cowens and Paul Silas both failed to get out of the 3-second lane when Charlie Scott made that bounce pass. And what hurt them was the fact that he threw the ball down. It bounced so high in the air, it took JoJo White another second before he could get the ball.
There's Alvan Adams, number 33. Tommy Heinsohn looking on and arguing with referee Don Murphy about a call. It's 86-79. Referees Don Murphy and Richie Powers have been in complete control of this game, and the players and the coaches have concentrated on playing it. In inside to Gar Heard. Battle underneath. Curtis Perry once, twice, still has control, and in it goes. He was like a volleyball player.
Well, he had some dedication on that play. There's no way he was going to be denied that basket.
There was no 3-second call that should have been made on that last play, Brent, because no one had control of the ball.
Missed shot. Control by Phoenix. It's 86-81. 6 minutes and 10 seconds left in the Boston Garden. Sobers was coming in on the drive and gave it up. Lost control of the dribble. Scott over to White, who gets inside, and Curtis Perry at the other end.
Garfield Herbert, another great block shot.
Dave Cowens. The muscle that is being demonstrated under both of these backboards right now. Here's JoJo.
Good ball movement right there by the Boston Celtics, getting up the floor in a 3-on-2 situation, taking advantage of JoJo's excellent shooting ability from the baseline as Paul Silas moved the ball to the open man, and that's the way the game should be played.
Phoenix is not the only city that can explode over its NBA team.
The pause in the action, Brandon, something was thrown on the floor, and Joe Prosky, the trainer for the Phoenix Suns, was out wiping it off.
Charlie Scott dove in over there on the pass play.
There's one area that Phoenix Suns have really suffered in here in the later part of the game. It's been turnovers.
And Arsdale was trying to pop away from Charlie Scott and was called when he threw that elbow back on him to get some distance. Somebody has thrown a cup on the floor. We'll see if we can get Murphy's attention to get it off. They don't see it there at midcourt. Here's JoJo White and Cowens. We got 5:21, 88-81. Scott in and out. Celtics still with control, and nobody has got that off the floor. I'm so frightened when I see something like that. Somebody going to slip on it. Here is Cowens on a hook shot that went in. 90-81. There it is. Still don't see it. Richie Powers has picked it up, and he's going to get rid of it. Now it's 4:53 to go. Here's Perry over to Alvan Adams. Adams in the air. Put it down. 90-83.
That still keeps it well within reach for the Phoenix Suns, and fans should realize that when they do something like that, one of their own ball players may get hurt. That's just a silly thing to do at a sporting event.
4 minutes and 35 seconds. John McLeod is off the Phoenix bench, kneeling down, watching his defense. Al Bianchi standing. These are vital moments right here. Scott on the turnaround, and Perry with control, and here come the Suns. They can pull to within 5. We've got 4:20 to go. Westphal patiently signals the play. Cowens taking Adams. David has played an incredible game. Here's Westphal on JoJo White with the turnaround, and Paul Silas has come back off the bench playing with those 5 fouls. Yanked down the defensive board. Lead can swell to 9 if the Celts can hit here. Havlicek forced out of the middle, look to the right side and hit it.
Big series coming up now for both the Celtics on defense and the Suns on offense.
3 minutes and 35 seconds to go in regulation time. A 9-point Celtic lead. Westphal made it 7.
Well, the Suns came through with the offense, and this time the roles are reversed. Celtics, of course, needing to get a good shot, and the Suns must stop them.
Ricky Sobers will be checking in. Silas goes down inside, so Heard has to stay with him, and Cowens missed, and Adams control.
They got a bad break on that bounce that time.
Adams almost traveled, got it off to Westphal. Oh, Westphal with back-to-back baskets has made it 92-87 right now.
Well, the situation now causes a little concern here at Boston Garden as the Suns cut it down to 5 points. It was 2 minutes and 58 seconds to go. There's still plenty of time in this basketball game. Tom Heinsohn, I'm sure, trying to get his team to get some inside action going. They've been most successful with the inside game. Phoenix, meanwhile, is going to try to find some way to shut down that inside game, control the defensive boards, and then come down and patiently run their offense, which they do so well. And you have to give the Phoenix Suns credit for hanging tough. This is something they've done throughout the last 2 playoff series. When it looks like they're about to fold, or should fold, I should say, they just hang tough. And they have so much confidence in John McLeod's offense that they stick to it, and they seem to be successful in the crucial situations.
Notice the last 2 times down the court ring also that Cowens is not being double-teamed or triple-teamed as he was earlier, and for somehow they picked up some respect for Paul Silas in this particular game. Gar Heard is going back to his man, leaving Cowens free to wing to the hoop.
You saw John McLeod there mapping out some strategy on the paper, and as Paul Westphal said, he feels that the players are an extension of their coach when they're out there on the floor, and I think that's very well put.
And tomorrow on CBS, Super Joe Einhorn live with that dangerous motorcycle jump, and then Muhammad Ali against Gorilla Monsoon, a wrestler. That's tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS, and the Belmont at 5 p.m.
Of course, the big thing the Celtics have going for them also is that they have so much experience on this ball club. They invariably come up with what has to be a big play for them. They will get the ball inside. They will work around on picture screens, move the basketball, and generally do the right thing. That has been the key to their success throughout the years.
This is the noisiest Boston Garden crowd I have experienced this year. They have been somewhat complacent, but then Phoenix made a series of it, and the Boston fans can come alive like no fans in America. Havlicek took it from White inside to Dave Cowens, who tried to go baseline past the White, and again the Suns had hands in the passing lane. A 5-point difference. You can see the clock on the scoreboard counting down inside at 2:30. Fans chanting defense in the Garden. Westphal has had the hot hand. Thought he had it, did not. Silas controlled.
Here's the man that's so important to that Boston rebounding game, Paul Silas, along with Dave Cowens.
Joined us late. John Havlicek started his first game of the championship series, and the Celtics exploded for 36 first-quarter points. Phoenix has been battling to catch up and go ahead ever since. Silas with a miss. They caught him in the 3rd quarter, but they couldn't hold on. And Adams was out with those 5 fouls. Sobers went in the air and hit the basket. The crowd thought he was guilty of an offensive foul, swinging out that right elbow. It is 92-89, a 3-point game. 1 minute and 45 seconds to go in the Boston Garden. John McLeod and Al Bianchi are up. Tommy Heinsohn up for the Celtics. JoJo up. And Gar Heard controls, and the Phoenix Suns can pull to within 1 point. Other timeout has been called in the Boston Garden. Rick and Mindy, I would like to say that I thought the Celtics were extremely impressive when the fast break was operating early in this basketball game. And again, the Suns have kind of regrouped, and they've been getting back extremely well on defense.
Well, they are not taking the fast break opportunities they had in the 1st quarter, Brent, because they're really not controlling the rebounds. And you can't run if you don't have the ball.
Exactly right, and of course, Phoenix did not shoot the ball very well early in the ball game because of the good pressure put on by the Boston defense. Boston controlled the defensive board and was able to establish their running game. They picked up some steals, and this is what, of course, generates running offense.
Listen, Mindy, one of the nice fans here in Boston bought me a whole sack of bagels. I got bagels for you. I got bagels for Rick. And we got bagels for the director, Sandy Grossman, and the producer, Chuck Milton. We got bagels for everybody. They did a fine job. I would get on that airplane and head back down to Phoenix in some sunshine tomorrow morning. And Game 6, as we listen to John McLeod. The timeout situation. You know, it's interesting, the end of Game 4 when we were down in Phoenix, a lot of fans were questioning the fact that the Celtics didn't call the timeout. They had called the play prior to that. They said that if Phoenix misses, get down as quickly as you can. The play was to go to Dave Cowens, but Garfield Heard had sloughed off and double-teamed him, so JoJo White took the shot outside.
From what he was drawing on the paper, it looks as though they're going to bring either Curtis Perry or Garfield Heard up to the basketball from the weak side of the floor and then try to run some action on the side of the floor that the forward came from. Let's see if I was able to distinguish his marks on that paper.
Rick also must remember that Silas Silas has 5 fouls. Let's see if they go to work on him.
Adams with the ball, and the clock moves down on the right-hand side of your screen. Total time left here, regulation time of Game 5. Westphal had it knocked away on a penetration. Celtics come right back on the turnover. They lead Game 5 by 3 points in 1 minute and 15 and inside. Scott holding it up now. He has been a much calmer player. He had a long private talk with Red Auerbach. He has fouled out of every game until this one. JoJo White cuts to the basket, and Paul Silas put it down. 94-89. Now it's 5 points. Suns have a minute to work with. Westphal was coming down the baseline, and he was fouled. Was not shooting, and of course they are not yet in the penalty, so they'll have it out on the side. 14 fouls against Boston, 3 against Phoenix. Westphal turnaround. 94-91, Phoenix alive with 52 seconds and a 3-point Boston lead. So that was a big basket by Westphal. Kept his team in it, and Westphal knocks it away. Came around behind Charlie Scott. Here's Paul back down the other way. Paul Westphal puts it in. And the came down to the floor and drew the foul. What a sequence by Paul Westphal.
Unbelievable. That is Charlie Scott committing the foul. Let's watch this play again. Paul Westphal, great defensive behind Charlie, knocks it away. Adams throws the long pass to Paul Westphal. He comes in, drives to the basket. There he goes. He drives up, and from behind, Charlie Scott caught him and knocked him down. And he had a bonus situation. Charlie Scott out of the basketball game again, fouling out of all 5 final playoff basketball games. And now Paul Westphal has a chance to tie this game with 39 seconds to go. And we have going to have some action coming up now.
A stunned silence here in the Boston Garden. The Celtics led it by 5. Paul Westphal hit it outside. Paul Westphal came back, forced a steal, hit the layup, and now he comes to the free throw line.
And he's been a big spark plug. He has scored 8 of the last 10 points, made the great play, knocking the ball away from Charlie Scott. 2 chances to make one to tie this basketball game.
That's one of the greatest individual efforts I have ever seen in a basketball game, right there by Paul Westphal. I want to tell you.
That race was 2 years ago when I was doing the playoffs, and Dave Cowens made an unbelievable steal in the backcourt off of a guard on a switch-off play and ran and dove for the ball. That was a fantastic effort. This have to rate along with that.
Mindy, were you working that game 2 years ago?
I was working that ball game. Yes, I was. And we weren't too sure at that point whether there was a 24-second violation involved in that game. And there was. And Cowens just made a super play. He's that kind of a player. Let's watch here and see what Tommy Heinsohn has diagrammed if we can.
Tommy Heinsohn goes to that notepad. There are 39 seconds left in the game. Tied at 94. The Celtics led by 22 at one point.
The situation right now is this. The Phoenix Suns, of course, must play excellent defense to try to stop the Celtics from scoring a basket. If they are able to do that, make them use up at least 10 seconds on the clock playing tough defense, and if the Celtics do not score, they then will be in a situation where they can take the last shot of the ball game and either go into overtime or win. That would be the ideal situation. From the Celtics standpoint, they may want to try to come down and get a quick play inside like they were able to do in Phoenix the other afternoon. If they can do that, the other evening that is, they have a situation then where even if they don't score, if Phoenix comes down and does score, they still have the chance for the last shot to tie.
Now the play that Tommy Heinsohn wanted at the end of Game 4 was the pass to Dave Cowens cutting through the lane, and he rolls it up. Now that was taken away because Gar Heard had sloughed out of Paul Silas. The crowd urging the Celtics on here in the Boston Garden.
The Phoenix Suns must now put a lot of pressure on this inbounds pass. Make it tough to get the ball in. Try to keep them outside, eat up the clock as much as possible, and hope that they miss. And as I pointed out again, Boston's got to try, at least in my opinion, to get the ball to the basket with a good shot in a relatively short period of time to try and take advantage of the clock.
Don Nelson will throw the pass in. White, Silas, Cowens, and Havlicek, and Phoenix is not yet in the penalty.
Right,
only 3 fouls against them.
They have 1, but I don't think they should take it right now. They still have a chance to play good defense and save it for the last few seconds if necessary.
See what they come up with. JoJo White came out, sobers on him. Clock starts down. Game is all tied. Adams fronts Cowens. Nelson. They're watching for Cowens inside. Perry had sloughed off. Here's White from the top of the circle. And it was Cowens, and it was blocked Garfield
That's
heard
a foul.
that there was
A foul
whistle
is being
blown
called.
outside.
A foul is going to be called, I think. Let's see if Don Murphy's calling. Let's watch
Murphy's
the replay.
going over to see Richie Powers.
The replay here. Watch. There's Dave Collins shoved Garfield Heard off without any question. Don Murphy made a good call. You see the replay. If we can show that back again, please. We're going to take a look at it. Watch Cowens. It's very obvious. Watch his right arm. There's Perry. Watch his right arm. Right there. Takes his arm to give Perry the shove, picking up the foul going over the back. That Perry with the...
is a gutsy call in the Boston Garden.
Well, you bet your life it's a gutsy call, but it was a call that had to be made, and the official was on top of it. The replay shows it.
Don Murphy called it from outside. Richie Powers was on top of it and couldn't see it as well as Don could.
This is Curtis Perry's biggest free throw of his career.
Missed it, and it's a one-point game, and immediately Silas has got timeout with 22 seconds. We got 95-94. Now remember, we got Silas with 5 and we got Adams with 5. Now Tommy Heinsohn was glaring out at Don Murphy, complaining about that foul, but as Rick and Mindy pointed out on the replay, it was very obvious underneath.
No question about it. He's taking a lot of abuse out there for making a good call on that particular play. And of course, the man who is so upset right now is Curtis Perry. When he missed that free throw shot, he was really hot at himself, and he has good right to be. There's no excuse for missing free throws in situations like that. And I know that Curtis feels bad about it, and now the Suns are faced with a situation where they must play, again, a super series of defense to prevent the Celtics from scoring a basket and taking the lead with the chance to win the ball game. They would have been in a great position to go for the tie had he made that free throw.
That's the Tommy Heinsohn diagramming the play that they're going to use here at the end. You can see that Celtic movement and then sort of swinging over to the right side. You could have a Don Nelson or a Havlicek out there.
I would imagine to be a type of play where one of the guards will come down and set the screen inside. They like to run this high post play. Cowens with the ball. JoJo White will come off of the play. If he's not open, the other man may circle around in front of Cowens, coming towards the basket, going around the back of him again to get the jump shot there. That's what it looks like on that play. They love to run that play. And they also have a play where the man could go and backdoor from the weak side if the defensive man turns his head off of that particular
And it looks
formation.
much easier on paper when you haven't got Perry, Van Arsdale, Heard, Sobers, and Adams, as the Phoenix Suns have taken their only lead in this game with 22 seconds to play. An unbelievable turnaround here. The Celtics with 22 seconds. Clock will start when the ball is touched on the inbounds. Havlicek starts the clock. Van Arsdale's got him. Hondo up in the air. There was a whistle and he was fouled. Now John Havlicek will come to the line with the Boston Celtics trailing by a point.
Let's watch the play again. John Havlicek comes off, gets the pass, dribbles to the basket, turns around on a tough shot. Alvan Adams reaches in, catches him on the left arm. Good call by the official. Alvan Adams leads the game with 20 points.
So rookie Alvan Adams goes to the bench and Tommy Heinsohn looks on. And if I had to pick one man in all the world to shoot free throws with 19 seconds left and I was down 95-94, you're looking at him.
And Phoenix has one timeout left. I'm sure they'll use it after this free throw.
I take offense to that, Brent.
Rick, you're not in this one.
He missed
it, but he's got it back with 17 seconds. They missed the free throw, and Hondo wants the ball. 12 seconds. We're tied in Boston. Cowens gave it up to Havlicek, and 8 seconds outside. Out. 5 seconds. It looks like we may have overtime, although timeout has been called. 3 seconds. The clock ticked down. They've got 3 seconds now.
That was definitely a mistake by the Boston Celtics. They had the ball back at a big break as Cowens tapped it out. They should have played for the ball to be in the air at the buzzer. They either win the game or they go into overtime. By taking that shot, they have given the Phoenix Suns a golden opportunity to beat the Boston Celtics for the first time in playoff competition this year at Boston Garden.
I would have bet you $10,000.
3 seconds, Brent, is a lot of time, especially when you get the ball up.
Tommy Heinsohn and Curtis Perry there with Richie Powers. Perry was in conversation and Tommy ran down.
There's the ball. He calls timeout. There's 4 seconds on the clock. Richie looks as though he's signaling, or Murphy looks like he's signaling back here for the timeout. He starts to walk, and the clock then goes down to 3 seconds, and that's what the complaining is about.
They want the 4th second. Immediately, the coaches of Phoenix came off the bench, and it is the 3rd official who can be conferred with now. Can't he, Mindy, in this situation?
Yes, he can. And what happened on the play, obviously, Brent, is by the time Murphy blew his whistle to recognize the timeout, a second flicked. And that can happen very, very easily.
It was less than a second. It could have been only a tenth of a second. It had to expire. And by the time the official scorer flicked that switch back, the clock just barely ticked to 3.
Exactly. I am shocked at Blossom not holding the ball and waiting for that last shot.
Well, I'm also shocked that John Havlicek missed that free throw. Brent, you know, that's what happens when we talk about things like that. We've seen the snake bite people.
I couldn't believe it, and then the ball bounced right back to him out of the hoop. Let's take a look at that sequence again, Rick.
All right, here's John Havlicek. Plenty of time left. He's taking this shot with 8 seconds to go. That's far too many seconds on the clock. The ball bounces off. We'll get the ball. He's got it. He calls time. He signals timeout. Looks like he's starting to wave for timeout with 5 seconds to go, and that clock goes all the way down to 3 seconds. Looks like they might have had a pretty good reason to complain.
Look at that replay, Rick. Somewhere along the line, we lost a second, yes.
Now the Celtic will use that great pressure that they usually put on. Jim Ard is in the ball game to pick the man up, taking it out of bounds, who's going to be Gar Heard.
Gar Heard standing right in front of me here at the table. Jimmy Ard is on him. Won't start till it's touched. And Cowens was out there, and we've got overtime in the Boston Garden.
I will tell you,
yes, sir.
It's a good thing that Richie Powers did not see Paul Silas calling timeout, because there were no timeouts left, and had he given the timeout, there would have been a technical foul, which could have caused the ball game to be lost. It's a good thing he was not looking.
Well, I like to see this again. Let's take a look at this minute. Here's the pass. It was a bad inbounds pass. 3 seconds, it bounces around. He's got the ball. Now watch Paul Silas. He definitely signals for timeout, and the official does not grant it. If he had granted it, there's 1 second to go. He's looking right at Richie Powers signaling timeout. Now, I don't know how Richie Powers did not see that, but the Celtics are very fortunate that he did not acknowledge it, as Mindy pointed out, because that is a technical foul in the NBA, and they would have a technical free throw to help put them ahead by 1 point.
Boy, that would have been something if that would have happened. Wow!
Shades of 1974, of Game 6 of a championship that no one will ever forget between Boston and Milwaukee.
I had the pleasure of being on the broadcast team for that one, Brent, and I still say in my mind that was the greatest basketball game I have ever seen. The intensity, the tremendous pressure situations that developed, and the way that the players and the officials and the crowd all responded to them was something that I will never forget.
Brent, let's set the scene here now. Each team is allowed 2 timeouts. Each team is allowed to commit 3 team fouls. Once they commit the 4th team foul, we go into the penalty situation. In the last 2 minutes of the overtime, they're allowed to commit only 1 team foul, regardless of the previous number. So we set up with 2 timeouts, everything with 5 minutes. We've got an overtime. I'll tell you, this is really something.
Even Beth Havlicek and the other Boston Celtic players' wives feel the pressure as we start this 5-minute overtime period. And JoJo White's wife comes to her feet. The players come out to center court for fouls now. Keep in mind, Cowens with 4, Silas with 5, and of course, lost in all the turmoil around the end of that game is the fact that John McLeod's starting center, Alvan Adams, fouled out of the game. Charlie Scott fouled out earlier. So we got 2 players on the bench. And the OT begins in the Boston Garden. What a series this has become. Cowens cutting off. Suns got their hands on the ball, but again, the Celtics save it. Havlicek to Nelson. Nelson shoots it. And inside, Paul Westphal is hurt.
And Paul Silas with another super offensive rebound. That man is incredible underneath those offensive boards. Paul Westphal is limping badly to the other
Injury
side of the
timeout,
floor.
Rick. Right now, they went to the injury timeout.
Interesting point here. If they had called an injury timeout in the second half, they did not call an injury timeout in the overtime. So what will happen is they will be charged with a regular timeout. No penalty, just a timeout.
Timeout.
They they charged it, which is exactly what that conversation was about.
Let's take a look to see if we can find out what happened to Paul Westphal. Here's the replay. The pass into Havlicek. It's knocked out. Havlicek crashes into Paul Westphal as he follows through. Or it's Dave Cowens crashing into him as Havlicek gets the ball back, and you see Westphal rolling on the ground hurt.
Back in the Boston Garden with 4 minutes and 28 seconds remaining of the 5-minute overtime, and the Boston Celtics leading the Phoenix Suns by 2 points. The Suns came back after trailing by 22 points in this ball game.
The man who has been the thorn in the side of the Phoenix Suns has been Paul Silas with his rebounding offensively and defensively.
Paul Westphal has gone out with that injury. Sobers, Van Arsdale, Perry, Opry, and Heard will take it in now for John McLeod. Shot clock down to 1. Sobers must hurry. Just got it off at the buzzer. And they have turned it over on the pass up the court on the break. Alvan Adams, the rookie of the year who fouled out, watching from the sideline. Ricky Sobers gives it up to Van Arsdale. Here's Gar Heard facing the basket. Sobers from deep in the left corner. Nelson rebound.
That's not a good shot for the Phoenix Suns offense.
And without Alvan Adams, they must be very careful. Both Adams and Paul Westphal out for different reasons. Adams with 6 fouls, Westphal with an injury. And it's Cowens, Havlicek, Nelson, Silas, and White for the Celtics, and Cowens makes it a 4-point game. And don't forget, they've also lost Keith Erickson because of an injury. Came back in, they sandwiched Nelson between Perry and Garfield Heard, and there was a loose ball foul called on Curtis Perry.
Once again, the Suns a little bit impatient with their offense, taking 2 difficult outside shots rather than trying to execute that offense where they get the inside game going. And good defense again by the Celtics, putting the pressure on, forcing the Suns to stay outside.
Charlie Scott fouled out, so John Havlicek and JoJo White are working in the backcourt. Paul Westphal back in there, and on the turnover, it's Garfield Heard with the interception. 99-95. 3 minutes left in overtime. Heard and Silas collided, and a blocking foul is called down inside.
Paul Westphal has picked up an offensive foul, Brent. On the move, he ran into Paul Silas as Gar Heard was making a move to the basket, and that was just a mix-up on the offense.
Two minutes and 40 seconds. Celtics leading in overtime by 4. Ricky Sobers drove up, and the Suns have got it on the turnover. Taken away by JoJo White, who comes right back.
So many times an offensive player will take the ball up the floor, look ahead of him, and not realize that he's got pursuit from behind. And that time JoJo White was almost able to make the steal.
2 minutes and 24 seconds, and Dick Van Arsdale will check back in for the Suns, who are still trying to score here in overtime. Gar Heard with that high arching shot, and they finally get on the board in overtime. It's 99-97, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Here come the Celtics and Havlicek. JoJo White. And it's 4 again. It's 101-97.
Well, if it's one guy you don't want to give an open shot to, it's JoJo White.
Celtics pressure defense, taking that shot clock down to 5 seconds. Inside of 5. Curtis Perry off the glass with a shot that got Phoenix right back in at 101-99. Just when you get ready to say these guys are out of it, they come back with something. 125. 2-point basketball game in overtime. Here's Paul Silas. Westphal jumped over. Nelly gave it up to White. White gives it up to Havlicek. Shot clock down to 3 seconds. John goes up with a missed shot. Silas with a tremendously important rebound at this point. 109. Nelly's shot not there. Cowens got up. Wouldn't fall. Autry with control. The Suns can tie it. Inside of 1 minute left in overtime. Silas with those 5 fouls playing Gar Heard. Autry gave it up to Sobers. Heard is inside. High arch goes right straight through. It's tied with 45 seconds. We're going to have a timeout here in this overtime. What a performance by both these basketball teams in the 5th game of this NBA championship. The series is tied at 2 apiece. So's game 5 in overtime.
I would say, Brent, that the strategy right now for the Boston Celtics would be to come down, try to get a good opportunity shot within 10 or 12 seconds. And that way, even if you don't score, if the Phoenix Suns were to use all 24 seconds on their possession, they would then have the last shot of the basketball game.
Quickly, some of the leading scorers. Cowens with 24. Havlicek with 20. White with 20. Adams, who fouled out, scored 20. Perry with 19. Westphal with 19. So here are the last 45 seconds of overtime. Silas, Havlicek, White, Nelson, and Cowens against Van Arsdale, Sobers, Perry, Heard, and Autry. Cowens outside over Autry. And Curtis Perry got out there, and the Suns have used up their last timeout with 29 seconds to go, and the score tied. And now what will they do strategically, Rick?
Well, I would imagine that they're going to use up as much as the clock as possible. Try to get down inside, running their offense. Try to get the basket with maybe 1 or 2 seconds only to go on the 24-second clock. If that were the case, then of course the Celtics would only have 6 or 7 seconds to come down and try and generate something on their end. They, of course, would call a timeout to get the ball up at half court to take advantage of that extra 45 feet. And somebody else is hurt over there. Curtis Perry is being attended to, as you see in the right corner of your screen.
That looks like a
by
cramp.
Joe Prosky.
Looks like a cramp in his knee or either his calf, and he is being worked on.
Phoenix coach John McLeod setting the strategy. More of the same Sunday afternoon on CBS. Game 6 out of Phoenix, 3:30 p.m.
It's a leg cramp. Curtis Perry is having his left calf worked on by Joe Prosky. He's worked very hard here, and here we can see the play being put down on the floor. He's back up. It looks like he's going to be okay. Let's see if we can see this play. There's all the men in their position. Got a head in the way, unfortunately. Going to have a man cut through, come off the screen down by the forward. It's going to be the guard.
That's Paul Westphal.
Westphal.
P for Paul and R for Ricky.
Looks like Paul's going to come down off of the screen down low by one of the forwards coming out to the left-hand corner of the court for the jump shot. But when they're going to do that remains to be seen.
29 seconds. The clock will start when it is touched on the inbounds pass. Ball Silas over here on Garfield Heard. And Kevin Stakem is coming in for the Boston Celtics. Steve Kaversky goes out. So we have Havlicek, White, Stakem, Silas, and Cowens. Autry popped out to take the pass.
Now let's watch Paul Westphal.
Watch the clock go down. Paul is watching it himself. See how far they take the shot clock down. Well, they start the play, and Autry was fouled.
Celtics, of course, have that one foul to use. They elected to take it now. Of course, that now gives the Phoenix Suns a new 24 seconds.
They won't need it, Rick. There's only 17 left.
There's only
That's all they're
24.
gonna do.
There's 17 left, so they can now play to take the last shot and either go into overtime or win the game.
So it is down to that. Autry and Heard, confusion on the inbounds pass. Cowens all over Garfield Heard. Here is Ricky Sobers. Clock goes down inside of 10 seconds. Handful of seconds, tied at 101. Sobers gave it up. And the Celtics have used their timeout with 3 seconds to go. That is the last timeout. Ricky Sobers gave it up as he went over to the left baseline.
There's the play again. Well, we saw the play after JoJo had knocked the ball away. Sobers didn't have any place to go. He was in a lot of trouble, tried to force it, and it did not work.
They just got to make sure the ball is...
We are back for the final 3 seconds, and Mendy Rudolph has just pointed out that the Phoenix Suns have a foul to give, and they will probably give it Rick Barry right away.
They should, and the only thing they have to be careful of is that the man does not begin his shot as they're taking the foul. But they do have one to give. They should put a lot of pressure on. When the ball gets in bounds, if the man tries to put it on the floor, he should attack him right then. The only thing
be certain, Rick, that the ball is passed in first, because if it's not, you must shoot that ball.
And also,
got to release.
Clock doesn't start until we get it touched on there. So that's very important. Here comes Nelson with those 3 seconds. Started. Havlicek down to 2. Havlicek deep in the corner. Nelson was flying toward the basket, collided at the buzzer. No foul. No foul underneath. John McLeod thinks that Autry was fouled as Nelson came flying down the lane. And these two teams are going to go into a second overtime.
There's John Havlicek coming off. Gar Heard with him. Goes up, good, leaves his feet. John gets him out of position. He's got the shot, but it just won't go. You see Nelson driving in there, making contact. No foul being called. But I am still surprised that as John Havlicek made that move to the corner, why the Phoenix Suns did not take a foul, especially since Garfield Heard was in a situation where he did not have to worry too much about fouls because he only has one.
I want to tell you, there were 3 full seconds on that clock.
Well, at home, that's supposed to be that way. Let's take a look again. 3 seconds. The ball given to Don Nelson. Now we'll watch the inbounds pass as John Havlicek breaks from the top of the key, catches the ball. Boy, he took a couple of dribbles there before a second even went off the clock. That's what you call a good timekeeper at home.
That's the old Boston 1001. And we're going to go to double overtime. A second 5-minute OT. And you can take a look at some of the leading scores right here.
Cowens with 22. Adams with 20, of course, is out of the ball game right now. JoJo White with 20. John Havlicek with 20. Curtis Perry and Paul Westphal. This has been some ball game. Now the same thing prevails again, Brent. Each team on the 14th foul goes into the penalty. 2 timeouts again for both clubs.
And the man who I think, once again, has been a big key for Boston is Paul Silas. Has played a lot of minutes with 5 personal fouls, and he has been a terror on the offensive and defensive boards for those Boston Celtics.
Let me set the lineups as you take still another look at the Sports Spectacular reminder for tomorrow. Super Joe Einhorn and that world record motorcycle jump, Muhammad Ali in the Belmont Stakes, and second overtime underway. Suns win control with Van Arsdale, Sobers, Perry, Heard, and Autry against White, Havlicek, Silas, Nelson, and Cowens. Autry out far from the basket, gave it to Ricky Sobers. Gar Heard on the turnaround short with that high arching shot.
I don't know why he doesn't take Paul Silas to the basket. He has 5 fouls. He doesn't want to pick up that 6th one, and yet he continues to take the outside shot, even though he did make 4 of the 6 points for Phoenix in the first overtime.
Cowens with the ball on the floor, gave it up to JoJo White, who hit and put the Celtics ahead by 2 in the second overtime. We may play all night here in the Boston Garden. Good thing it's Friday night. All you kids don't have to go to school tomorrow. Just tell your dad to get you another Coca-Cola. Inside to Curtis Perry. Turn around. Battle underneath, and that's the man, Paul Silas. Lead pass to Nelly. Gave it up to Havlicek. Paul Westphal will come back in. On the turnover, Dan Arsdale and Perry were right there for the Suns. Sobers takes it back from Perry, gets inside and ties it.
JoJo White that time looked like he got screened off on Dave Cowens a little bit.
3 minutes and 30 seconds left in the second overtime. Nelson went down and there was no foul.
Dick Van Arsdale really crashed into him, but the officials didn't see it.
Shot clock down towards 5 as Havlicek sent it sailing to White. And with 3 seconds to go, White puts the Celtics up by a field goal.
Feeling that ball, JoJo had to put it to the court just one time.
105-103. There are a lot of believers in the Phoenix Suns tonight in the Boston Garden. Sobers pull-up jump shot, couldn't get inside, put it down, and there was a foul.
Boy, the Boston Celtics played some super defense that time, switching out exceptionally well, forcing Ricky Sobers to the baseline. Don Nelson once again going for the block. Now watch Nelson here as Havlicek drives to come off the screen. Watch him jump out. Good defense to this point. Now Sobers veers out. Now instead of just playing good defense with him, he tries to block the shot. Why small forwards want to become shot blockers is beyond me.
Sobers has just put Phoenix up 106-105 in the second overtime. Only the second time in this basketball game that they have been ahead, and we are in double overtime.
They're really looking for JoJo White.
Cowens has it, moving on Autry, got Autry off his feet. Drew the foul, bench can't believe it. He came flying off of there with that whistle. Autry hacked, and for Autry, that is his 5th foul. And remember, Adams already is out of the game.
All right, here's the play again. The ball will go into Cowens from Nelson. Now watch him make his move to the middle. There he makes the move. He'll give a big fake. Autry jumps on him, goes by him. Autry claims that he did not hit him. Official said he got the foul and caught him on the elbow as Dave Cowens will go to the free throw line.
Westphal going back toward the sideline. Cowens has tied it at 106. 2:27 on the clock. Cowens has put the Celtics ahead by a point on those 2 free throws. Clock moves down to the 2:20 mark. Sobers and Van Arsdale on McLeod's backcourt, and Van Arsdale wants to go down in with Havlicek. Havlicek was there with his foot along the side.
John almost made a super big play for the Boston Celtics, but when you lift that foot up, that is kicking the basketball. It must be unintentional.
Sobers trying to put Phoenix ahead. Cannot, and Cowens skies for the rebound. Inside of 2 minutes here in the second overtime. It is Boston 107, Phoenix 106. JoJo White against the shot clock, forced one up. And inside Gar Heard, and John McLeod is going to use one of his 2 timeouts. He trails by a point. He's got 1 minute and 33 seconds up on that clock.
Well, there's plenty of time to go in this basketball game. John McLeod trying to map out the strategy, take advantage of calling that timeout in this crucial situation. The Suns usually have responded quite well when John McLeod has called those timeouts.
Back at the Boston Garden with 1 minute 33 left in this second overtime. The foul situation. Adams already out. Scott already out. Cowens, Autry, and Silas. 5 fouls apiece. Take a look at this last play, Rick.
Let's watch the last play here as JoJo White's going to come off for Paul Silas. He'll get the ball, go over to the left side. The 24-second clock ticks down. There he goes. He makes a fake, jumps back. Little contact on the play. I don't know. It may have been the situation where the official thought he was trying to force
Looked to me
a
that
foul.
Curtis Perry might have fouled him just a little bit enough to throw the ball off, which is all you need on a shooter from this guy like JoJo.
Exactly. There was some contact there.
Phoenix trailing by a point. Perry took the pass from Sobers, and here's Autry with the shot clock going inside at 10 seconds. Sobers from deep in the left corner misses. Silas with another big rebound. Celtics with a long pass to JoJo White. Couldn't control it in time to cut to the hoop for an easy layup. They set up their offense. 1 minute 5. Cowens went right straight up in the air. No basket, says Richie Powers. Offensive foul on David Cowens, his 6th foul.
Tommy Heinsohn went all the way off the court on that call.
Dave Cowens went high in the air and fouled out of this basketball game. on a play that could have turned Game 5 in Phoenix's favor.
There we go. Let's take a look at it. There's the ball from JoJo going into Dave. Watch him get the ball, be triple teamed right here. Now let's watch the move. Autry still stationary, moves over.
It was there, Rick. It was there.
We got another angle on it. Let's watch the angle. Let's see if Autry's moving on the contact. He's there. Dave jumps, makes the contact. Richie Powers calls the offensive foul.
Ball was absolutely there.
What a turnaround that is. Instead of 109-106, it's 107-106 toward 50 seconds. Suns with possession, trailing by a point. Cowens and Adams have fouled out. We're in the second overtime of the Boston Garden. Havlicek went down, trying to draw the foul from Autry. Heinsohn furious, Heard in the air, loose ball. Autry was backing into his man. He's going to commit his sixth foul. Autry's out of the game. He was backing in for rebounding position.
Bianchi and McLeod weren't happy with that call, but Dennis Autry had set some screen on John Havlicek just prior to picking up that other rebounding foul. And the emotion is really high here at Boston Garden. Let's take a look at the play again. Now watch the screen coming up by Autry on Havlicek. He stands right there. That looked like a pretty good screen. Havlicek just ran into the stationary man. But now Dennis Autry is going to be backing out on the shot. Well, we didn't run it far enough, but there's no question.
Here come the Celtics, and McLeod extremely upset right now. 107-106 in 30 seconds. Celtics ahead by a point in this second overtime. JoJo White on the drive, put it down at 3 points at 19. Phoenix will have to call a timeout. This will be their second timeout, their final one here in the second overtime. 109-106, Autry is still complaining.
Well, JoJo White has been the big offensive man here in the second overtime for the Boston Celtics. Paul Silas has been a terror on the boards for him, and the old veterans coming through. Here's the play again. The side's cleared out. Gar Heard comes over, makes a great effort to try and block it, and JoJo just simply put it out over the outstretched arms of Gar Heard. Soft touch. The ball drops through. 3-point lead for the Boston Celtics here in double overtime. There's another angle on the play coming up here as JoJo gets by. His man goes up. There's Gar Heard. He just gets it over with plenty of room to spare. Just a beautiful soft touch drive. And look at the position Paul Silas has. He was inside again. If that ball had missed, he would liable to have tipped it in.
He was ready for the offensive rebound. He always is.
Ricky Sobers and a fan are into it a little bit over on the Phoenix bench. They've turned Sobers around. There's Sobers. Now he sits back down, 19 seconds to go. Suns trailing it by 3 points. John McLeod back to the drawing board.
Well, good, Mindy.
The one thing I am certain that the Boston Celtics will not do is to commit any kind of foolish foul on a try for field goal. They will not allow Phoenix to get anywhere near a three-point play.
Well, this is what they should not do. Of course, if Phoenix is smart, they will try to get the ball inside quickly to force the Celtics to have to give them a relatively easy basket and not really play as tough a defense as they would like to. If they can score quickly, they then will have 12, 13 seconds to try and get the ball back from the Boston Celtics. And in that case, we'll talk about the strategy if that happens.
Ball is over on this side. Garfield Heard reminded the referee. Crowd chanting defense. Lumpkin, Westphal, and Van Arsdale on the floor. Van Arsdale with a quick shot. It's a one-point game again. Just what Rick predicted. Westphal to the corner. Back to Van Arsdale. Perry in the air. Won't go. Havlicek. Perry again. Perry with a jump shot. Put it down. Phoenix has gone ahead. We've got 5 seconds. I don't believe it. I don't believe what I just saw down here. 110 to 109. I got 5 seconds. That was incredible. Where did Westphal come from?
Here
Where
we go,
did he
Fred.
come from?
Let's take it. Unbelievable what Paul Westphal does here. Here's the pass in coming out of Van Arsdale. He gets the ball. They don't elect to go inside. Now he makes a quick fake to the left. Silas is on him. No foul. They don't want to get it. The shot goes up, and it's in. Now the Celtics try and get it in quickly. Jim Hart throws it over. Look at Paul Silas. Great anticipation, by Westphal. Throws it back in.
Van Arsdale, Perry misses. He's going to go hustle after it. He gets it back off of John Havlicek's hand. Still plenty of time to go. Pump fake, and the biggest basket of Curtis Perry's career right there.
An incredible turnaround here in the second overtime. Boston has 5 seconds left to make up that point.
Here's another angle on it. Look, there was Paul Westphal sneaking over, knocking out of Havlicek's hand. The shot by Perry again, no good. Off of John Havlicek, a tough break for the Celtics. The pump fake, John's up. Now a difficult shot from deep in the corner, nothing but net for Curtis Perry. The Celtics now faced with a situation where they have 5 seconds to try to win this basketball game.
So here they come. Nelson, Silas, Havlicek, Ard, and JoJo White against Westphal, Sobers, Van Arsdale, Perry, and Heard. The final 5 seconds. Everybody on their feet here in the Boston Garden.
And everybody will be looking for JoJo White. You can bet on that. Let's see if they try and pull a little switch here and maybe go with Havlicek. But the only 2 good shooters right now, because Nelson's taking out of bounds, are White and Havlicek.
Cowens, remember, is fouled out. So is Scott. Here come the Celtics. Clock will start when it's touched. Havlicek touches it. It begins. 3 seconds. Hondo off the glass. He's got it with a second. John Havlicek won it. It's over.
There's 2 seconds to go.
The Boston Celtics, but the clock should have run out. Or did it have 2?
There are 2
Everybody's on
seconds
the
to go in
floor.
this basketball game, Brent. The ball went in with 2 seconds to go, and the clock has to stop on a made basket. The Phoenix Suns will get the ball with 2 seconds to go. This game is not over.
Richie Powers is in a fight with a fan right here in front. Referee Richie Powers was assaulted by a fan. They've pulled the bore off. They're the cops out in the middle. They got fans out in the middle of the floor. The Phoenix Suns trying to get it cleared to get the 2 seconds off. Here's Richie Powers now. Don Murphy is over there with him. We've got 2 seconds. You're right, Rick. Murphy just told me. Murphy has verified what you said. 2 seconds left. 2 seconds left in the game. They've got to clear the floor. They've got to bring the Phoenix Suns back. It's not over yet. We've got 2 seconds left in this game.
Here goes
Now
John
watch in slow
Havlicek.
motion.
He's driving. He
Can't
goes
run the
right up.
clock out.
Makes an almost possible shot as he almost hits the floor. Banks it in. 2 seconds to go. The ball had gone through. The clock ticked down to 1, but there was 2 seconds when the ball was in the basket.
111, 110, double overtime. It's going to take us a while to get this floor cleared off. Murphy told me there were 2 seconds. Believe me,
Absolutely,
we've
there
got
are
2
2.
seconds left in this basketball game, and Tommy Heinsohn is back. They know it right now. Everybody's aware. The players have been told, but the fans aren't aware in the Boston Garden. They've got to get the fans off the floor. He's got to get off the floor, play the 2 seconds.
John Havlicek making a super play for the Boston Celtics, hitting an extremely difficult shot. The Phoenix Suns not, of course, wanting to pick up a foul. They would have been in the bonus situation, so they had to pull back off. John made it, and then all heck broke loose. There was bedlam out there on the floor. The fans ran out, and in their anxiety to congratulate the Celtics as they thought the game was over, someone attacked Richie Powers, but we've gotten order restored.
Rick and Brett, you can't say too much about these officials. They have worked 1 Super Bowl game. And a fan attacking officials, to me, is just unheard of. I don't buy that at all.
They shouldn't attack anybody.
No, I mean, this doesn't go to second grip. 1.
Suns are over huddling with John McLeod. This has been one of the more incredible evenings in the history of championship play in the NBA. Leading by 22 points, the Boston Celtics found themselves tied once and then twice. And now we come to the end of the second overtime with a couple of the most incredible turnarounds I have ever seen. It is John Havlicek who put the Celtics ahead. Then the Suns took the technical to get court position. Curtis Perry wanted somebody to stand back. Won't start until it's touched. They'll have to throw it up. Gar Heard, turnaround, shot in the air. It's good. It's tied again. I don't believe it. Garfield Heard at the buzzer. Threw one in outside. We've got a third overtime in a Boston Garden. It's 112, 112. Unbelievable sequence. First it was Havlicek. Then it was Garfield Heard. All tied at 112.
Here's the play again. 1 second to go. Curtis Perry going to look for Heard. There's the toss in.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You talk about pressure situations. You play 48 minutes, then you play 10 minutes of overtime. You've got Curtis Perry, you got Paul Westphal, you got John Havlicek. You got men going up and down the court. I honestly don't know how these athletes can stand the tension and the pressure of this game. It is a tribute to every man in the NBA, what's happening here tonight in the Boston Garden. We head for our third overtime, tied at 112. Rick, how are these guys doing it?
Brent, these fellas are playing on sheer guts, determination, total emotion. You play 58 minutes of basketball and have to go 5 more minutes this late in the season. That's an incredible feat. And I think right now it's coming down to a situation where you're going to have this game decided by men who are not the top stars, perhaps. Dave Cowens sitting on the bench, Charlie Scott on the bench, Alvan Adams on the bench. Absolutely incredible, fantastic
How many
performance.
games have you played in the NBA that have gone 3 overtimes?
I have never been involved in a game with more than 2 overtimes. And
Have you
I
ever
was
seen one?
fatigued after that. No, I've heard about them, but I've never seen one. And this is some basketball game right here, ladies and gentlemen. You are seeing a fantastic effort by both ball clubs, something that you can remember for the rest of your life.
And I think we've got to go back to that technical foul that was called on the excess overtime. The strategy worked absolutely perfect for John McLeod.
Well, both teams, when they were doing it, Tommy Heinze came up with a super play to get John Havlicek the ball. He responded. There's just been one great play after the other by these ball clubs. Each of them have made mistakes, but they've come right back to make the big play. You can't give enough credit to these great athletes out here this evening.
It is ironic that it is now midnight here on the East Coast, and still the Phoenix Suns refuse to turn into pumpkins. Jimmy Ard will come out and jump it off against Curtis Perry. We've had 3 centers foul out of this game. 2 for the Suns, 1 for the Celtics. Dave Cowens, Alvan Adams, and Dennis Autry are out. Coaches and trainers and some of the players now are looking for some of the debris that was thrown out on the floor. Richie Powers, a referee, was assaulted, received help immediately from the Boston police. And I want to say something about the referees that worked this game. I think it has been worked extremely well from beginning to end by Murphy and Powers, and don't forget, they've had to go the distance too. And they don't get any breathers over on that bench. And now we come to the 3rd overtime of by far the most incredible basketball game I've ever witnessed.
The only 2 men in foul trouble at this stage. Once again, Paul Silas still playing with 5 fouls. Paul Westphal with 4 fouls for Phoenix.
And Westphal has control. Let's set the lineups. Westphal, Sobers, Van Arsdale, Perry, and Heard. Up against Havlicek, White, Ard, Nelson, and Silas. Silas has gone a long time with 5 fouls. Now it's Curtis Perry out over the left side, giving it up to Van Arsdale, who wheels around him. He has turned the ball over.
Rick Van Arsdale still having difficulty handling the ball with his left hand. He's still playing with a protective cast on that wrist.
Can you imagine how many folks in Phoenix are watching this basketball game right now? It's been a very bad evening for the saloon business. Everybody's watching. Tied at 112. We got 4:31. We'll be in Phoenix Sunday for Game 6. Don't miss it. We got more action coming up. What an end to this season has been on CBS. Nelson outside. And Havlicek got inside with position. And finally there was contact in there.
They called a jump ball. Don Murphy saying that Curtis Perry had his hand on the ball as John tried to go back up. You see Tommy Heinze, he's not too happy with the call. There's the play. The shot goes up. Look at Havlicek in inside position. He's got it. He starts to go back up after the bounce. Perry was on the ball, he claimed.
Off of Heard's hands, and Jimmy Ard wisely lets it go out of bounds. He saw who had touched it last.
The Suns are playing without a center. Both Autry and Adams have fouled out.
And so it is Curtis Perry who is taking Jimmy Ard. Dave Cowens, of course, also has fouled out for Tommy Heinze. If you're looking for the Late Late Show, hold on, folks. Nelson, using the glass, puts Boston up by 2. 3:57. Sobers calling the play for the Suns. Here's Curtis Perry inside, pass to Ricky Sobers, who went in and tied it up at 1:14 with 3:44 to go. And this is the 3rd overtime of Game 5.
Big difference. The Suns scored inside. The Celtics had to score outside.
JoJo White gave it up to Ard. Shot clock down toward 5. Havlicek fires in and out, and at the board was Garfield Heard. And there was contact underneath.
And that's going to be
and
called
Paul Silas has fouled out.
due respect to Curtis Perry, Rick, I don't think he saw Gar Heard because there were 2 or 3 people within his eyesight, and to pick up that kind of a play is awfully tough sometimes.
122 to 118. And here in the Boston Garden, there are 12 flags representing 12 different championships. And in this series, they're going for their 13th in the last 20 years.
The Phoenix Suns came back in the last overtime in situations just like this with a little over a minute to go. If they come down, score a basket, they still have plenty of time to be able to come back and get another one. The Celtics then would be forced into a situation where they must go down and score. So let's see if the Phoenix Suns can rise to the occasion one more time, or if the Celtic defense will rise to the occasion.
Glenn McDonald will pick up Dick Van Arsdale. JoJo White has Ricky Sobers. John Havlicek has Paul Westphal. Don Nelson has Curtis Perry, and Jimmy Yard has Gar Heard right now. It's Tommy Heintz's defense. Westphal, turnaround, win in, 122, 120. Would you believe it? I don't believe the shots that have gone into this basketball game.
You're seeing them, but they're still hard to believe.
59 seconds. Hondo off to JoJo. Left side down, 4 again. What's that? 33 for JoJo. Now it's 4 points in 54 seconds, 124 to 120.
They still have plenty of time if they can score a basket here.
Here's Dick Van Arsdale up in the air. Battle Glenn McDonald. He's had a big rebound knocked away from him and out of bounds.
Foul, Brent, foul.
There was a foul on the play. Glenn McDonald had control, and I'll tell you, he's come off the bench and played himself a basketball game.
JoJo White is so tired. He is backcourt at the 3-quarter line, near half court, sitting down. He is, look at him sitting there. He is so tired. He has played some basketball game, and he's trying to catch a blow right here.
33 points for that man.
And White has scored 15 points in the last 3 overtimes. There's the shot by Van Arsdale. It goes off the board. McDonald up high to snatch the rebound. He'll put it on the floor. Perry will reach in. Right there, they call a foul. And it's a 2-shot foul in the backcourt.
It is an absolute pity that either of these teams has to lose this game. It has been that kind of contest. The Celtics are in command, 126 to 120. Glenn McDonald, 2 big baskets, a pair of free throws, a rebound, came off the bench. He has been a disappointment to the Celtics this year, but here when they most needed it, with guys fouling out, Silas and Cowens out of the game, it was Glenn McDonald, a second-year pro from Long Beach State, who came in and ignited them. We got 36 seconds to go. It's 126, 120. Back in the Boston Garden. Al Bianchi with a few final words of advice. Boston breaks Tommy Heintz's huddle. Glenn McDonald, 6 points here in the 3rd overtime. And Rick Barry, just as you predicted to me, it has been that unknown player who came off the bench and turned out to be the star here finally.
Well, Brent, I tell you, so many strange things have happened. I wouldn't consider this game over yet. Too many crazy things have taken place. The Suns are liable to get in here, score a quick basket. They made a steal the last time. Let's see what happens. Certainly the Celtics should be able to control it. If they can't control it from here, they've got some real problems.
The crowd already thought it was over once. Here's Ricky Sobers now, trailing by 6 inside, make it 4 now. It's 126-122. Westphal directs the defense, pressure coming. Celtics working against it, and Nelson called the timeout wisely when he was pressured. Now, Mendy, when he calls it out down there, what about the rules in the mid-court? Does he get court position, or do they still have to get it back out beyond the end line when they're pressured like that?
After a field goal, Brent, the ball comes to mid-court, and they must pass it into the front court.
Sobers has put down 25. JoJo White, 31 points. Rick and Mendy, we'll just get our bags and head to the airport and get on our way down to Phoenix. No sleep tonight.
That's about the case. The situation now, of course, was probably Tommy Heinz is going to tell the fellas, hold that ball for 24 seconds. If anybody shoots it, I'll liable to come out there and get you.
That's been night. That happened very early.
And we're back in the Boston Garden. 126-122. 33 seconds to play. And it's nice to see you back here. A couple of policemen from Boston Garden. We're fine. These people are nice folks. We're all right. Don't worry about us. I have some passionate fans here in Boston. I think they thought that maybe Rick and Mindy had favored the Phoenix Suns a little bit for 2 games, but not so, folks. And I think now everybody in Boston believes it. These Phoenix Suns can play basketball. 33 seconds to go. It's 126 to 122. Harry over now at the midcourt line, as Mindy told you. JoJo White wants to listen. Now he wants to point something out.
Phoenix has no timeouts left, which could be a very important factor in this ball game right now. No timeouts for Phoenix.
Yes, they need to be aggressive defensively. They're also in a bonus situation. They have to hope to come up with a steal without fouling, get a quick basket down there, and perhaps steal it again in the backcourt. That's about the only hope that they have.
Inbounds pass to Havlicek. And there was a whistle away from that throw.
And the strategy by John McLeod was to commit a foul the moment you couldn't get the steal on the inbounds pass. They're taking a gamble that Jim Ard, who is not the best free throw shooter, will miss his opportunities at the foul line, enabling the Suns to get possession of the ball without using up too much time on the clock.
How many folks do you think have left the Boston Garden? 1, 2?
Only those that were called out in emergency.
It is still jammed to the rafters.
Murphy wanted to double check to make sure they were in the penalty situation. He wanted to be certain there were no mistakes made.
It's 127, 122.
That's got one door on that barn closed where the Boston Celtics have stored all that hay for this game, Brent. This could put the nail in it.
There it is, 128, 122. 6 points, 29 seconds. I think Phoenix is about run out of miracles, and just when I say that, somebody throws up an unbelievable shot.
Paul Westphal with an incredible shot.
25 seconds.
A little bit too late, though, I think, Brent.
Look at the fans around the Boston Garden. They thought it was over a long time ago. That's 23 points for Paul Westphal. Clock down to 21 seconds. It's a 4-point lead, and McDonald lost it. 17 seconds. Sobers has got Westphal open. It's 2 points again and 12 seconds. Here is Glenn McDonald. 2-point basketball game. Nelson gives it to Ard. Westfall's got a hand on it. Ard goes back. 5 seconds. White, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's going to be all over. And look at the fans here in the Boston Garden. They battled 3 overtimes. And finally it's over, but would you believe the end of that third overtime? It was 128, 122, and still the Phoenix Suns got down with a couple of baskets. Fans swarming all over the floor here, chanting, "We're number one." But I want to tell you, Phoenix made them work for it tonight. And we got more of the same coming up on CBS Sunday afternoon when we go down for the 6th game of this series, 3:30 p.m. And this is Brent Musburger for Mindy Rudolph, Rick Barry, and Sonny Hill saying goodbye from the Boston Garden, where you have just watched the most incredible game in the history of the NBA. Boston 128, Phoenix 126, triple overtime. The NBA on CBS is a presentation of CBS Sports.